.06 a.m. It is Thursday, and Fagan is out. He'll be back Monday, so it's Biegel, Bonnie, and Brian the Buzz.
Do I get to shoot it up or rip it down?
Tear
it down or
You're
rip it
the
up?
one
or...
with a gun, right?
Tear it out.
Yeah. Blow it up.
That sounds like fun.
Unregulated.
Yeah, you guys were
shooting
talking about
Yeah,
some
do
kind
it.
of shooting out of the back of a truck in the middle of Arkansas before the show started.
What?
Yeah.
You want to
Brian,
reveal?
was that you?
Well, we were talking about unregulated shooting.
Unregulated
Yes.
shooting. Yeah, you know that the press doesn't like something when they make something that has always been, that we've always done, and that can't possibly be regulated.
Right.
They make it sound freakish.
And what they really mean by unregulated is free.
Aha!
Yeah. Well, and
Fishing going on.
that's right. People shooting up those targets, the street signs.
That's right. Oh.
Ah,
Yeah.
you can't do that. Yes, the real target practice. I see less and less of that, by the way. Have they stiffened the penalty for shooting up street signs? Do we know?
People can't afford bullets.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. The bullets are too expensive to waste on it.
That's exactly
It's a
right.
conspiracy, I tell you.
Well, do you believe that or not?
No, that there's not enough bullets?
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
there's a conspiracy.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. I don't think it's conspiracy anymore. I think it's fact.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
try
out
to
there.
find
Well, it is a
22
fact that
bullets.
there
Right.
aren't enough bullets.
Yeah.
Let's just say
And the
that.
prices have totally gone up. And
Can you imagine what would happen if you walk down? Normally you walk like into a pound or something, and you're wearing a meat suit, and which I think Lady Gaga actually did at one point. Did she not?
Yeah.
what hasn't she done?
I don't know, but I try to look
I don't
away
wanna
because
know.
she's not as attractive a person as you might hope. Anyway, so but if you walk into a dog pound with a meat, what would happen if you walked into like someplace with just covered with 22 ammo?
You'd get mobbed.
Yes.
Yeah,
you would
like,
be- they would rip your
Hey,
clothes
how
off.
you doing?
Whether you like it or not.
It would be rough. Lots to cover on the program today. The National Guard scandal continues to swirl, and the latest Rasmussen poll is a shock.
Mm.
And you'd have to think that it sounds like they have it pretty close, because their poll agrees in large measure that Begich is going to lose.
Mhm.
But it also says Parnell is going down in fairly dramatic fashion.
So we're going to get the liberal ticket for the governor and the conservative ticket
ticket
for the Senate.
Yeah. Well, this will be, I don't know, something of a watershed election, I would say. I think they're all important. Look, I have always liked Walker and been uncomfortable with Walker. I always liked his ideas on the gas line. I do have to give up billions and billions, probably tens of billions of dollars in order to have somebody else build it for us, like the people who want to buy the gas. We're finding out in China, by the way, same thing. So his idea for our gas line development is we go over to Korean Gas and we go over to Mitsubishi and huge Japanese corporations, Korean corporations, and say to them, okay, well, if you guys will build us a gas line, we'll give you a really good deal. But he has never told us what kind of a deal that's going to be.
Very hush-hush.
Well, obviously, there are a lot. Our oil companies are going to ask for something. The buyers are going to ask for something. And the question is, which one is more sure to get us a line? I think the line's going.
I do too. I think it's closer than it's ever been. Why
Yeah.
would we stop now and start over?
Well, and the reason is that we finally sued to force Exxon to produce Point Thompson.
Right.
And so they had to build infrastructure. It's billions of dollars of investment, by the way,
Yes.
rather than give up those leases, which is an indication to me of a couple of things that make conservatives a little bit. That I hold a whole bunch of positions that make conservatives uncomfortable.
I do too.
You do? One of them is, I'm glad the federal government is taxing people a lot,
Okay, well, that would be a difference between you and I.
because the federal government does a lot.
Hmm.
If you want a big government, you have to pay for it.
Oh, I see.
It's not conservative.
So you're being sarcastic, sort of.
Well, here's what I heard from Rick Rydell. This is the kind of conservatism that I was brought up with, and it was the only kind of conservatism he could claim, because Ted Stevens was our senator.
Mhm.
So we couldn't claim, well, little government equals conservatism.
Right.
What he claimed was little taxation equals conservatism. Okay, sending the bill to my kids for the things that you want is not conservative. Okay, that's fascism, and I don't like it. And so you could call it whatever you like, but I'll tell you one thing for sure. It is not conservative. If we want a big federal government, if we want to pay bureaucrats to do our charitable work, then you must pay for that. And that's just clear. That's morality. Okay, that's reality. At some point, we will be forced to pay for it. You know, for a couple of generations, you can get away as long as you're the biggest, baddest bulldog on the planet, which we no longer are. China has a larger economy than we do. But as long as you write the rules, you can kind of do what you want. You can print up $1 trillion a year. You can borrow $1 trillion a year. You can do whatever you want. But I will tell you that it's not conservative. And a lot of conservatives get very uncomfortable when I start saying that. Anybody who says that my kids have to pay for it does not make them a conservative.
So shouldn't we start at the root and just get rid of big government?
Well, the thing that we have to change is as we had difficulties in the United States of America in 1929 through 1945, and different times, and in the 60s, we have upturns and downturns all the time. What we keep doing is we keep saying, we've got a temporary problem. Let's make a permanent solution. Federal government, will you start fighting a war on poverty? Well, guess what? They lost. People are still impoverished because poverty doesn't have anything to do with how much money you make. So we look at history, and what we see is, you know, Americans wanted, over time, they said, you know, federal government, we really can't feed everybody. We have such a difficulty. Can you set up a food stamp program, and you'll help just a few people eat? So we started with, you know, 20,000, and then it went to 1 million, and it went to 5 million, and now we're 50 million. And I think I've heard other people say we're at 70, but I've read 46 million. Well, look, 46 million people, if we want to change that, we have to figure out how to help those people either get jobs or training or food in a lot cheaper way, but it's going to take a huge amount of change. So we can't just say, well, federal government, you need to stop doing that. We need to stop having people need food from the federal government. We need to start having people need food from their neighbor. Anyway, so there are lots of changes to go on. I've always liked Walker, but I don't think he's been straight with us. I don't believe a couple of critical things, and I'll bring those up when I come back. I don't think he will be the end of the world. We will still have a Republican House and Senate. But and I don't necessarily want this. I do think as people go into the booth and they think, you know, this is Begich's ticket, it's the NEA ticket. What am I doing? Am I really going to vote this way? And also the National Guard scandal. We've got so much to cover. Love to hear from you. 569-1080. Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie. And Fagan is out today, so it's Biegel, Bonnie, and Brian, the Buzz. Stay tuned.
Don't just sit there. Give them a call. 569-1080. Join the conversation. KOAN.
Nothing better than big, meaty Alaska king crab. And what a special new Sagayan City we're going to have for you right now. Large golden king crab, first of the season, Alaska catch. Big, meaty clusters, legs and claws, only just the good stuff right now. $17.99 a pound. That's a great price. Right now in the seafood department's new Sagayan City Market. You know, I honestly don't know which I like better, the big king crab or the sweet and juicy Dungeness crab. New Sagayan City Market are also featuring live dungies this week. Clicking and a-clacking in the big seawater tanks, just $9.99 a pound. And they'll cook them for you if you like. Dungeness crab, boy, that's good eating. And in the butcher shops, it's top sirloin steak for all the red meat carnivores among us. They come in the handy family pack, and they're special this week, $5.19 a pound. The La Roma Bakery and Delis in both new Sagash bake bread every day, and this week's European bread special is honey wheat bread. You get 2 loaves for $6, and you'll never find a fresher bread. New Sagaya, Midtown City Market, 13th and I.
Alaskans are gearing up for the November elections. Harry Crawford looks to be...
That's it. Your time is up.
Hey, everyone, it's Kathy Giesel. Hello, Miss Giesel.
No, you're not allowed to speak.
Well, I was just about to...
No, stop!
This is Harry Crawford. Kathy Giesel was chastised by her own caucus last year for shutting down public testimony. That's certainly not going to happen if you make me your senator. You know me. The more citizen involvement, the better I like it.
That's right. Harry Crawford spearheaded the successful Trust the People initiative. A former iron worker, Harry Crawford works across party lines with a real can-do spirit.
You must stop talking, because I need to get on an airplane.
And that's another thing. Kathy Giesel spent $80,000 on travel while approving the largest budget deficits in Alaskan history. Looks like Harry Crawford is the real fiscal conservative in this South Anchorage race for the Senate.
Please vote on November 4th, paid for by Crawford for Alaska, Anchorage.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel in the morning. Give him a call, 569-1080.
6:17 a.m. It is October 16th, 2014, and less than 3 weeks to go to the big showdown, the big election coming up. New polls came out. One of them has Walker up by 9.
That's quite a bit.
That is a huge margin, and I'd like to hear if you have a theory as to what it is. Is it just Parnell himself? He won by a 60% margin, the largest margin ever in Alaska's history for governor, last race. And he's accomplished some nice things, and he's up against somebody who is not a great debater, not a great campaigner, but a person upon whom I think a lot of people have basically pinned their hopes. So, I don't know.
I think that, this National Guard issue, I don't like to call it a scandal because we really don't know the ins and outs of it yet. So the National Guard issue, Sean Parnell is not real great at getting him, selling himself. He's not a great salesman, like a lot of politicians can be. He's more quiet and unassuming, and I think he does assume that people just will do their own research and find out what they can about him. Also, how do you combat a person who calls himself conservative, and so people are duped by that, along with the fact that he's going to get Democratic votes because they can't stand to see Sean Parnell in there?
Yeah,
so,
it is a perfect storm.
Right. I mean, I think
Parnell.
that I think that he's probably going to get a huge portion of the vote because the Democrats won't let Sean Parnell win.
Now, I thought it was humility is what I thought. I thought it was a very powerful statement that who was the lieutenant governor who stepped down? Hollis French.
Right.
And stepped out of the picture, and I thought, look, from humility can come an amazing change, an amazing thing. It sounds to me like there was some horse trading.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what is going to be the biggest shock the day after. I think we're gonna wake up the day after, and we're gonna look at the cabinet that he's going to appoint, and what I hear is there will be a number of Democrats on it. If you can imagine the Department of Environmental Conservation headed by a Democrat. I mean, you just have to realize that our distance from the federal government is maintained only from strong, consistent resistance. And if we have people participating directly with, as, for instance, the EPA is, with environmental organizations, how difficult that's going to be. This is what I think people see from Walker. Number one, huge deficits. That message is resonating. And I think that there's culpability there. Now, I don't for a second believe that the NEA ticket's gonna cut the budget. They will go after taxes again. I don't know how, I don't know where, I don't know when. They'll put personal taxes off for a couple of years. And they'll try to get more Democrats in the House and Senate. But they are not going to willingly get rid of any public employees, which are the major load on the budget. So deficits, that's one of the things. I don't believe Walker will address them, but he says that he will. And he's been very consistent about it. So I find that interesting that Democrats are willing to gamble that Walker. To me, that's political savvy. And oftentimes political savvy turns out well for Democrats because they're all winking at each other all the time. They're winking at each other in Morse code. Senate Bill 21 is still weighing on the electorate. There are a lot of people who never got the memo that, oh, by the way, we're getting more money under Senate Bill 21 than we were under ACES. Hello? No. We're still $2 billion in the hole. Didn't you hear that? The Parnell administration said it. So I think, and things like the $2 billion deficit are really what went wrong with the Parnell administration and their arguments. They have said enough things on all sides of the issue so that out of context, or however it is the Democrats and the news media wanted to play them, people don't know what to make of the truth. I would venture to say, if I even know what the truth is, I would venture to say 0.1% of Alaskans know the truth about what the effect of ACES was, what the effect of Senate Bill 21 was, how much the exploration giveaway was. I don't think people can make heads or tails of anything. They've thrown up their hands. What they do know is this. Parnell, tool of the oil companies, Walker is going to go in there and fight for Alaska. And that's kind of the way they see the gas bill. The only problem I have with that, because I do think Walker has been very clear that he wants this gas line, and he really, I think, will get it one way or the other. He could strong-arm the oil companies by saying, if you don't build this thing, I will go over and get the buyers to build the line for us. We're going to have a gas line one way or the other. Now, we're not going to be able to own 51%. As it turns out, we're flat out of cash, unless he goes to the permanent fund. And I just don't think that's going to happen because even though Democrats want to do it, if Republicans did do it, Democrats would use it against them to try and get elected. Let me say that again. Even though the Democrats want to get money out of the permanent fund in order to build the line, which could very well be the right thing, if Republicans accepted the idea that that is what we should do, they would use it against them politically.
Later on, if something goes wrong.
Well, they're not going to vote for it. It's like Lucy and the football. They go, oh, we really think that's a great idea. These people are stealing your permanent fund. They're the worst people on the planet. You got to unelect them immediately. So that's what I think, we'll do. And it's very clever. I think Democrats are far more clever because basically they can get away with anything. Mm-hmm. The media and their folks know we don't want you going out and saying that you're going to fund every abortion.
There's no accountability.
Yeah. We don't want you to go and say your public positions that are uncomfortable. Just leave those till after the election. So I see Senate Bill 21. Look, 47% of people, and Dan says that a number of those people did not intend to vote yes.
Maybe a few thousand.
Well, I don't know. I would guess that it's 2 or 3%, maybe 5%, but it's certainly not 15%.
I think it's the same thing with the Joe Miller race and, the reason that other people who are unknown got so many votes.
Yeah. Yeah, people were just voting against Sean Parnell, for instance.
Right.
They voted the Republican ticket. They had to vote for somebody, so they voted not Sean Parnell. Mm-hmm. So those are kind of the ways that I see the race shaking out. The National Guard scandal, I don't know. I know that it's making a lot of people uncomfortable. I don't know, but it seems a little early. I think that's going to play out over the next little while. If the National Guard scandal is the cause of this 9-point deficit that Parnell is facing, I do think he probably can make that up. Did you see his video, by the way?
I didn't see it. I heard a portion of it.
Well, I'd like to play some part of it, and maybe all of it, because even if this race is unwinnable for Parnell, and people are welcome to vote however they like. I don't try to direct people's votes. I just tell people what I think. But what I want to do is I want to try and clean this up because the National Guard's got a lot of healing to do. There's a lot of injustice that's gone on. And I don't know what to make of the claims that, I know that there are a lot of good people in the Guard, and they're doing their jobs every day, and they go about their business, and even the person who knew, Kathy, I think her name was, her husband was in, they knew that there was a rape culture inside the Guard, still had her daughter go in, just said, look, you're going to have to make yourself safe. So I know that it's not all encompassing, that these are some bad actors. The problem is that the bad actors were right at the top of the heap, that they reinforced each other, and Sean Parnell has come out more and more strongly to say Katkus was just flat out lying to me. I mean, he didn't use those words yet. But basically, when I listen to this video, because I'm listening for Katkas's, who's the key person, I'm listening for how he did it. How do you fool somebody who's a lawyer, who's absolutely dedicated their life to helping to stop sexual assault? How do you fool that person into thinking that you're doing everything that you're now is sort of working his way around, and maybe he can't legally say what I think that he should say, which is Katkiss was the worst case scenario for the Guard. He was the corrupt person. He kept corrupt people around him, which obviously he did. There's no doubt about that.
Well, to me, Sean Parnell trusted the wrong person for far too long. And that's what it boils down to for me.
Yeah.
That was a lack of judgment, but Bill Walker having run with a Democrat is even worse judgment to me.
Well, that is a great point. Yeah, and that has to be weighed out. And I think the polls are going to be wrong by 5 percentage points. I think when people go into the booth and they think, let's see, Begich supports this ticket,
right,
got his arm around these guys, how many cabinet seats are going to be given over to the Democrats? Is Hollis French going to be our next Supreme Court justice?
Am I really going to vote against Mark Begich but for his ticket? That makes no sense.
Yeah, so I think that they're wrong by about 5 percentage points when people go into the booth. That's my guess. But that still means Parnell's got quite a bit of ground to make up. He's got to make up 5 to 7 points. And I don't know whether he can do that. He will have to be a much better politician.
So do you think that it was wise of him to put out this video, kind of like a sound clip for the TV stations and the radio stations instead of actually coming on and live saying this is what's going on? Because that's what they said. They said he couldn't be reached for comment, but he put out this video clip.
Yeah. Well, look, he was here on Monday.
Sure.
So he can be reached for comment. At some point he will, and I don't think, here's my take on it. It's 6:28 a.m. When we come back, I'll tell you what I think went through Parnell's mind as this National Guard scandal sort of arose, and it looks like it's, and I don't, these are my guesses. It's my take on it. I think that it's probably pretty accurate. I'll tell you what it is when we come back. 6:28 a.m. KOAN KVNT 569 1080. Lots of news to cover today. I have about 30 stories in front of me, so I'll give you a rundown of some of the news items at the top of the docket. Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie. Fagan will be back on Monday, so it's Biegel, Bonnie, and Brian the Buzz. Stay tuned.
As the state seeks a stay from the nation's highest court. Same-sex couples started filling out marriage license applications Monday, a day after a federal judge struck down the state's ban on gay marriage. Now the state has successfully made emergency moves in order to appeal. Officials say until the stay can be lifted, no more marriage licenses will be issued. A new report offers some insight about the challenges to health care delivery in rural parts of the state. That story from Ann Kenda.
The report, titled Alaska's Community Capacity Review, a statewide public health system assessment, mentions an aging healthcare workforce as among the challenges, as employees near retirement age and are not being replaced. The study called for more mentors to help correct that problem. It identified the northern and southwest regions of Alaska as the areas most in need of more healthcare providers.
That's your Hot Talk News update.
Mostly cloudy skies for today, high 43. Cloudy tonight, low 28. Sunshine and clouds tomorrow, high 43. Friday night, low 28. Saturday, clouds and sunshine, high 42. Sunday, clouds and sunshine, high 40. And Monday, high again, 40. Hot Talk, breaking news, and the latest weather, KOAN 95.1 FM and 1080 AM.
Halloween decorations. Boy, does Bills have Halloween decorations. And you know, their famous pumpkin patch is so picturesque, you should bring the whole family out in their costumes this weekend, and our photographers will take your Halloween pictures. Saturday from 11 to 5, Sunday from 11 to 4. That's at Bell's Big Pumpkin Patch on Specking Road only, both days. You'll get pictures you'll treasure for a lifetime. And don't forget See's Candies for your trick-or-treaters. See's has some wonderful Halloween candies, slightly spooky, extremely tasty. Bell's has lots of it for the holidays, so come get it. Folks who regularly shop Bell's Big Gift Shop on Specking Road know Bell's has a terrific selection of purses. They're all simply beautiful bags, and you can't find them anywhere else, so Bell's has them on display for you. And best of all, they're all 25% off this weekend, so be sure to stop by and take a look. Still a few spots open for the Zappy Silver Clinic, October 23, 24, and 25 at Bell's. Call Bell's at 345-4476 for an appointment. Bell's Nurseries and Gifts on Specking Road and Bell's Nursery on Cranberry Road.
911, please hold. 911, please hold.
Anchorage has 80 fewer cops on duty than it did 5 years ago, even though the city is bigger. More people, less coverage. Emergency vehicles get pulled from the hillside or Eagle River to cover Midtown when there are multiple accidents or ambulance calls. And that may mean a much longer response time for somebody who needs help. AO 37 removes police and firefighters from the discussion about staffing and equipment. Their experience is ignored, replaced by someone who doesn't understand what swiftwater rescue means to Eagle River or what rigs are best for hillside roads in winter. Vote no on 1. Let's stop playing politics with public safety. This message is paid for by Repeal 37 and approved by former police chiefs are APDEA, Anchorage Firefighters, and AFSCME International of Washington, D.C.
Hi, my name is Mike Ferris, president of Alaska Enterprise Solutions. We are the face of Xerox in Alaska. Xerox is a trendsetter, and AES Xerox is following in those footsteps. We are the document management experts, specializing in short-term rentals of copiers and scanners. We have offices in Anchorage and Fairbanks, and we are your Xerox professional agency with an Alaska focus and worldwide support. You can reach us at aesalaska.com or 561-5100.
When I grew up, I wanted to be a pro basketball player.
An elementary school teacher. Oh, an Olympic gymnast.
No matter what dream you choose or where you are in life, your local Country Financial representative offers helpful advice on everything from auto and home insurance to financial planning, education to retirement, and business insurance too, so that you can continue to grow and dream. For more information, visit countryfinancial.com or call 1-866-COUNTRY. Country Financial. Grow your own way.
And I approved this message. These negative ads are everywhere.
And did my own research.
Yeah, what did you find?
Well, I found I really like Dan Sullivan.
Well, I know he served in the Marines for 20 years, and he'll fight against President Obama and Democrats in Washington to protect my Second Amendment rights.
Yeah, and did you know when he was our Attorney General, he worked to put an end to violence against women, defended the constitutionality of Alaska's Parental Notification Initiative Act, and sued the federal government to stop Obamacare.
I like that. What else you got?
Well, as a veteran himself, he's dedicated to fixing them. He'll fight to ensure they get all the benefits they've earned.
Dan Sullivan. I'm sold.
Me too.
Dan Sullivan, a principled leader for Alaska. Dan Sullivan for U.S. Senate. Paid for by Allen West Guardian Fund, which is responsible for the content of this advertising. AllenWestGuardianFund.com. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Why is A&A The Shop Alaska's independent Subaru specialist? How is it they've been voted the best shop in Anchorage not once but 6 times? Well, it's pretty simple. They offer the best warranty in the business. A 36,000-mile warranty on both parts and labor. That's unheard of. A&A The Shop deals exclusively with Subarus, and they also offer $35 oil changes. All their technicians are ASE certified. Call A&A The Shop for an appointment. 562-3919 in Anchorage and 696-2096 in Eagle River.
Here's my good friend Keith Monternock. Automotive repairs can be frustrating. Let me help. Call 349-1637. I have been in business for nearly 20 years at the same location. Specialty Truck and Auto is in South Anchorage behind the Long Branch Saloon where Diamond becomes Abbott. I have 6 ASE certified technicians working from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. I have a voucher for any of the 6 Alaska Laser Wash locations for each customer. If you schedule ahead and need a ride when you drop your vehicle off, I may be able to help. Call Specialty Truck and Auto, 349-1637.
Hot Talk KOAN, man. You're on with Fagan and Biegel. 1080KOAN.com.
.36 a.m. It is KOAN, KVNT 569 1080. The number, Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie. But Fagan is out. He'll be back on Monday. Taking a little vacation. Is it a vacation from me or vacation from you, Bonnie? It's Brian. Let's just be honest. You got sick of Brian.
I can wear on you. I'm the only one that's been here every day of the show.
That's true. You have been. You are a stalwart. Stalwart. Right. Is that a good thing?
No, it is. That's a fantastic thing. No, I agree, Brian. He's the backbone. He makes this show happen, and it's our pleasure to be with you. 569-1080, the number. And let me wander through some of these. Nikiski community weighs in on LNG project. You do have to wonder whether or not this LNG project, it seems much more real than before. Exxon is seemingly behind it, and they're starting to prepare themselves for a much larger facility on the Kenai. If people really thought Walker was going to break apart Parnell's advancement of this line, and I think the advancement's real, I don't think he could win. So he wisely has backed off. I'm going to Valdez, and I don't hear almost anything about his lawsuit in order to shut down the Point Thompson settlement that he started in 2012. But I don't think that you can. I don't think that you can reasonably bring those two things together. To ignore the fact that he's suing the government to stop the very settlement that's pushing this line forward, and his ties to Valdez.
Is it because he wants credit? He wants credit for it.
Oh, he'll get credit. And whoever gets this line done, if it's done on their watch, they will absolutely get credit.
Well, part of me wonders if it's because we've never had a governor be in for so long that he's not been able to get anything done with it. You get person after person after person in there. They do their own thing. They start all over. I don't know. I'd like to see where it's going to go.
Yeah, no, I think this is real, and this is the part, by the way, one of the things I was going to bring up that makes conservatives uncomfortable. We had to sue to move this project forward. It's just that simple, and the difficulty for conservatives is they think, well, we just need to let the oil companies do what they do best, and the oil companies are going to be very good to Alaska. Well, sometimes yes and sometimes no. I know in the past, ConocoPhillips was ready to sign on to Murkowski's deal, but Exxon, Mobil, and BP weren't. They didn't agree with each other. And the fact is that any of the oil companies could veto the project, and the other companies did, even though ConocoPhillips was really interested in having a gas line way back in 2004, 2005. So I don't know. Certainly, the oil companies don't have their own interests in mind. If they don't have their, each other's interest in mind, why would they have Alaska's interest in mind all the time? We had to sue in order to move this project forward. That makes conservatives uncomfortable because they just want to let the market work. Well, sometimes you need to push the market. Sometimes you need to use the force of your courts. Our laws are written to try and protect us, and if people aren't following them and we take them to court and force them to do what they said that they would do, which is develop Point Thompson, give us infrastructure all the way across the North Slope, that's just something we have to do sometimes.
Yeah, and we had a governor who took the lead and did it.
Yeah, and several governors, actually, who took the lead and did it. Murkowski started it, Palin continued it, and Parnell finished it up. Anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up. Let me go to the phones here to Tom Wright. Tom, you're a part of the Parnell campaign, I think?
Well, yes, I am, Glenn, and good morning. I am the campaign manager. I've heard you reference the Rasmussen poll, and polls are all over the place right now. There were 2 polls that came out last week that showed Parnell up 4, 5, 6 points, and at this stage of the game, having these outside entities come in like Rasmussen and say now we're 9 down. I'm just not putting a lot of faith and stock in poll.
I just saw 700 Alaskans. I don't know that it was properly weighted to where people will vote, because oftentimes voting in urban centers is much higher than rural.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know that they know Alaska anywhere near as well as many of the other pollsters who are putting out information. So you could very well be right. I don't want people to lose heart or lose hope in this election. This election is up for grabs.
Well, the election is up for grabs. There's no doubt about that. It's going to be a tight election. I feel confident about where we're at. Speaking of the gas line, my other job, I work for Speaker Chenault, and he has been one of the backers of getting gas to Alaskans first. When all the talk was going on about gas lines and he had a GIA out there and it didn't look like a GIA was going to go anywhere, he introduced House Bill 369 and the House Bill 9 and part of House Bill 4. But one of the things that's very disturbing, we don't know where Mr. Walker is going to be out on a gas line. I mean, he calls it fatally flawed.
They call it the worst backroom deal in state's history, the dirtiest, worst backroom deal in state's history, the settlement of Point Thompson.
That's what he called, quite frankly, that deal was done out in the open.
Well, how can he's suing to stop it, by the way, and that, to me, it was the critical part of us actually moving the gas line forward. Can he stop that lawsuit? Are you expecting him to? And
no,
why wouldn't he have stopped it already?
I don't think he's going to stop it, or else he'd have done so.
What does he want? What would happen in that lawsuit if he were to win?
There was a part of the contract that he didn't agree with, and I don't know all the particulars, Glenn. And again, I don't want to speculate as to why he decided he had to file it. All I know is it could upset the apple cart, could lose the progress in getting gas out of Point Thompson.
Well, that's the one thing that was clear, is that Point Thompson development would stop right away if the settlement wasn't, if the state has to undo its settlement with Point Thompson, which kind of forces Exxon to develop it, build infrastructure for us, and keep developing more, then obviously they're going to stop until the court decides and 700 people be out of work.
Well, that's exactly right. And one of the other things, though, about the big gas line, economics is going to drive that line. If it's going to be profitable, it's going to go through. But one of the things that disturbs me the most is to hear Mr. Walker say that the bullet line doesn't go through. The bullet line is what's going to assure Alaskans getting gas. And I find that very disturbing to hear Mr. Walker say he's not going to pursue the bullet line if he is elected. One of the premises of the bullet line is to ensure that Alaskans get gas first. Not to say that they won't get gas with the big line, but that is the alternate. AGDC was established to forward the small line, but also to be our agency to work on the big line, to be have a seat at the table, and to not think that the small line is not going to be profitable. It will raise the money, but we're not. Yeah.
Tom, can I keep you on for another segment? I wanted to ask you about records requests and other things. There's a lot of news about this, so we have a lot to talk about. Tom Wright, the campaign manager for Parnell, on with us. 569-1080, Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie.
Fagan and Biegel on KOAN and online at 1080KOAN.com.
This is Dr. Ellenberg. Are you tired of taking medications? Do your medications create more side effects than solutions? Do you want more than 15 minutes with your doctor? If you answer yes to those questions, you should consider calling the Ellenberg Center for Natural Medicine. At our center, we take the time to listen and focus on finding the cause of your health problems. Whether you have a cold, high blood pressure, diabetes, or cancer, we can help. Call the Ellenberg Center for Natural Medicine at 563-2366 or visit us online at drellenberg.com. We can help.
In Washington, Mark Begich has voted with Barack Obama 97% of the time, adding trillions to the national debt, casting the deciding vote for Obamacare, and protecting Obama's executive amnesty for illegal immigrants. Alaska needs a senator who will fight back against Obama's agenda. As our Attorney General, Dan Sullivan sued to stop Obamacare and defended our Second Amendment rights. As Alaska's DNR Commissioner, Sullivan stood down Obama's EPA, unleashed new energy production, and created Alaskan jobs. Now Sullivan is running for the U.S. Senate to stop the Washington big spenders from bankrupting America. Sullivan will cut wasteful spending and support a balanced budget amendment. And Dan Sullivan is pro-life. He'll protect life while fighting to repeal Obamacare. Dan Sullivan, strong leadership for Alaska.
I'm Dan Sullivan. I'm running for the U.S. Senate, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Sullivan for U.S. Senate.
Hey, if you think all you need to know about beer is how to pop the top off the can, go to worldclassbeer.com. There's a whole world of beer out there, and worldclassbeer.com can help you navigate it. Learn the difference between an ale and a lager at Beer U. Get descriptions of all the craft beers and learn why they're so different. And when you see one you'd like to try, the Beer Spy Locator can direct you to the closest store. Worldclassbeer.com, designed to help you get closer to your beer. Brought to you by the Odom Corporation. Always drink responsibly.
You're on with Biegel on Hot Talk KOAN and online at 1080KOAN.com.
Are you serious now?
Yeah, sorry, that button sticks.
Happy Thursday, everybody. 6:47 a.m., October 16th. Today, and we are working our way. By the way, it is almost official that the McDonald's dude who told me it was going to snow sometime this week was totally faking me out.
Same guy that forgot your cheese?
Yes, it's I don't think he makes the sandwiches, but yes, his establishment, also known as the restaurant.
That's part of the conspiracy.
He's not a meteorologist, Glenn.
Well, I thought he had inside information. How do you know? Look, it's 5:45 in the morning.
He said it's going to snow this week or it's going to snow. Because
No,
it
he
will
said this
snow.
week.
He snowed on the mountain.
He said it was going to snow this week. And you believe pretty much anything anybody says at 5:45 in the morning when they're about to give you food, you believe them.
And snow in Alaska? Yeah, I believe that.
They are in a position of authority. They are in a position of power. And they could tell you, your car is going to explode in 13 seconds, and you'd be like, wow, I better park.
Well, it's only Thursday.
It's only Thursday, that's right. But I'm losing a little faith here. I want to let you know, oil extends route as economic worries mount. And oil is down about $30 a barrel. $20, $25, $30 a barrel, depending on where you are. In the industry, let me go back to Tom Wright, who's the campaign manager. Tom, give me a sense of the following things. I think these are why people are thinking of voting for Walker. I think, as me, they were uncomfortable with them. They like the ideas that he's giving, a balanced budget. He's going to cut the budget. He's going to get us a gas line, and he's sick of these deficits. Here's what I'd like your take on, and I understand you can't answer a lot of the National Guard stuff, but frankly, this is a big part of the election. So what is your take on the press article, which gives us some more information about the recruitment office? National Guard, was any of that available to Sean Parnell as he was governor?
And again, Glenn, I don't know that that particular part, if that was available or not. I mean, this is something that's been going on for a long time, even before Governor Parnell became governor. There's been a culture, as Kathy has been saying, and I've listened to what she's had to say, a culture there for a long time that I guess allowed for the type of activity that was going on. Now, know what Governor Parnell knew, what he didn't know, but he did rely.
Well, don't you find that an amazing real revelation for the rest of us, that you, a campaign manager, one of the closest people to Sean Parnell, you don't know what he knew? I mean, part of him being able to be reelected is people feeling very comfortable that they did know what he knew, and that they feel comfortable telling their friends he did what he should have done.
Well, and I think he took the action that when he discovered what was going on, he took the action that was necessary to to look into the allegations and to look into the accusations. Relied on the word of General Cactus, and when General Cactus was saying nothing was wrong, everything is great. Governor Parnell had to believe him. The other thing is there were 2 other investigations conducted, one by Senator Begich, one by Senator Murkowski, that did not find any wrongdoing. So, I mean, there's always rumors, there's allegations. He looked into them, sent it to the proper authorities, and they did not have anything to charge anybody with at the time.
What do you think about this women's group who came out yesterday all over the news?
Well, everybody has a right to do what they think they have to do. I mean, protests have been a part of this country ever since even before I was around. So, again, that they feel that they have to protest something, that's their right.
I thought it was interesting that they said they kind of said that Sean Parnell waited, and now he's putting all this stuff out because it's the election and everything, and that's kind of what they're doing too.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, it's really sad that this is an event that's being politicized.
That's right.
And I mean, the governor could have. I mean, if you wanted to make it political, to be honest with you, he could have held that report till after the election and released the OCI report after the election.
Was it Monday?
Mm-hmm.
He was saying that when he started the 6-month investigation, he knew that it would conclude during the election.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was, he said, I went ahead and did it anyway.
Well, he went ahead and did it because it was the right thing to do.
The right thing to do, that's right.
And
well, I don't think anybody is uncomfortable with him and his approach to sexual assault and the dignity of women and people, but his judgment about Catkiss is what is at the heart of this, and I know he's getting much closer to letting us know that this was a relationship where he was taken advantage of, and I do worry, just to close off this comment, I do worry that Sean Parnell, Governor Parnell, will be the final victim of Catkiss, and that's my concern, at least one of my concerns here. Let me go on to Senate Bill 21. I see Walker as really reaching out to the people who voted yes and to voted no, right? If you voted to keep Senate Bill 21, he's reached out to you, said, look, I'm going to leave the law as it is. The people have spoken, but all the people who are on the yes side who wanted its repeal, they know that he voted yes with them. And so he's working both sides of the aisle. Tell me the campaign strategy for Parnell to try and let people who voted yes on this, 47% of Alaska, that he has their back too.
Well, again, right now we're making more money under MAPA than we would be under ACES right now, and lower oil prices. Oil prices yesterday were at 82 something, and as you said, Glenn, it's at one of the all-time lows. And right now, it appears to be working. There's more investment going on. The decline has stopped for the time being. There's more production, and it is working, and the governor is going to continue to let it work.
Well, I don't think the argument anymore, because Malott has rolled over on this, and every Democrat now knows, who reads the paper, that Senate Bill 21 is better for us at lower oil prices.
Mm-hmm.
They denied that before. They now know that they were wrong, and I'm sure that they're embarrassed by that, but that doesn't help. What Walker's doing is he's saying, I am going to be strong against the oil companies and making sure that we get a good deal on a gas line, but I'm going to let these lower taxes or the different tax rates stay in place. So he's working both sides. You see what I mean?
Well,
Parnell,
I understand that.
Okay.
I mean, we're going to stick with the plan. I mean, Governor Parnell introduced Senate Bill 21, and it is working. And he's been proven right with what is going on right now. Again, Mr. Walker, we don't know where he's coming from. Well, I don't know if I'm going to change it. I don't know if I'm going to keep it the same. His story differs from day to day. It just goes along with whatever is the right thing to say. And it's very disturbing. I mean, you got to talk about the gas line again. Water, he spent 15 years trying to get a gas line. 15 years at a minimum. Where has he gotten? His AGIA application was rejected. He was rejected by the Department of Energy, and he says he's going to build a gas line. I mean, after 15 years, you think he'd have a plan. You think he'd have something. It isn't there.
Well, we're talking here with Tom Wright. I think the gas line is a strong suit of his, and I'm not sure that it's justified. But again, he's working both sides of the aisle. He's got one plan to develop it with the input from the buyers, which are going to get tens of billions of dollars in breaks. And he's got another plan to stay with Parnell's plan. He's on both sides of the issue, but he's doing it effectively.
Well, again, he's telling people what they want to hear, and they're not listening to when he tells somebody something else. That's what's kind of disturbing, is you don't know what he's going to say from day to day, and he has been all over the place. We've been steady. We have been strong. Our message has not changed or varied since the campaign began, or since the governor's been elected. You know, he was working with the GF, found out it wouldn't work, went another direction, and we have a plan in place that is moving Alaska forward, moving a gas line forward.
Well, we have great opportunity out ahead of us. I really feel that for Alaska, and I don't know how things are going to turn out. I do know Parnell's a good man, and we'll see how that plays during the election process. I appreciate you calling up, Tom.
No problem, Glenn. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Have a great day. We are listening to Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie, 6:57 a.m. And again, this is the difficulty for conservatives, is they don't think the box and say anything uncomfortable. What I think Parnell needs to say, and I don't know whether or not he's up or down. I guess it's really hard for me to read. I take it that he's down by a few, in all reality, and that he does have to do something in order to win this race. One of the things which I think he's got to make the case of is that he's heard the message from the 47%. And I want to make this point very carefully but very clearly. The 47%, part of them were saying that they wanted higher taxes, that they don't really like the oil industry, they don't care about the marketplace, but I don't think that's what all the people were saying. Part of them were saying, we have to have this gas line. This gas line is part of Alaska's future, and it's a necessary part of the future. In fact, when Joe Balash was in here, he said it would be $3 to $4 billion a year. Well, if it's a critical part of the infrastructure, then Parnell's got to make the case. I heard the 47%. I am going to argue harder than anyone, and I'm going to make sure that this gas line gets built as much as is possible. I will use every resource that I have, because if we don't get this gas line, I do think that ruins the relationship between the oil industry and Alaskans. So it's a necessary part of our relationship. I will return. Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie, 6:58 a.m. KOAN, KVNT, 569, 1080.
In Alaska catch, big, meaty clusters, legs and claws, only just the good stuff. Right now, just $17.99 a pound. That's a great price. Right now in the seafood department's new Sagayan City Market. You know, I honestly don't know which I like better, the big king crab or the sweet and juicy Dungeness crab. New Sagayan City Market are also featuring live dungies this week. Clicking and a-clacking in the big seawater tanks, just $9.99 a pound. And they'll cook them for you. If you like Dungeness crab, boy, that's good eating. And in the butcher shops, it's top sirloin steak for all the red meat carnivores among us. They come in the handy family pack, and they're special this week, $5.19 a pound. The La Roma Bakery and Delis in both New Sagayan City Market are featuring fresh baked bread every day, and this week's European bread special is honey wheat bread. You get 2 loaves for $6, and you'll never find a fresher bread. New Sagayan, Midtown City Market, 13th and I.
Hot talk all day. Hot talk every day. 95.1 FM, 1080 AM, KOAN, Anchorage.
Fox News Radio. I'm Dave Anthony. Congress has a lot of questions about Ebola.
I don't trust this screening system of verbally having people tell you whether or not they have been into a hot zone, and certainly just taking someone's temperature isn't enough.
Republican Tim Murphy chairs the House subcommittee that will hold a hearing next hour, putting the head of the Centers for Disease Control on a hot seat. That passenger screening's been expanded today beyond New York's JFK Airport to Newark, New Jersey, Washington, Dulles, Atlanta, and Chicago's O'Hare, where Fox News Radio's Jeff Manasso is live.
Dave, what customs officials wearing gloves and facial masks are looking for here at O'Hare and the 4 other airports, screening passengers from Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea are high temps and fever, severe headaches, vomiting, and any other signs of the deadly virus. And passengers, if sick, would then be taken to a CDC quarantine area and then to the hospital. We're told about 150 people travel. from Ebola hotspots to the U.S. daily. Dave.
Jeff Ascar on an Air France flight to Madrid. A passenger who had been to Nigeria was shivering with fever. So the plane was isolated under Ebola precaution. He was sent to a hospital. There's concern here. The second healthcare worker infected with Ebola in Texas was allowed to take a flight on Monday. She's now being treated in Atlanta. Fox News Radio's Rachel Sutherland, live outside Emory University Hospital.
Dave, Amber Joy Vinson was flown here last night from Texas Health Presbyterian, where she was diagnosed with Ebola. The 29-year-old is being treated in a special isolation unit here at Emory. Meanwhile, the CDC is trying to track down everyone who flew with Vinson Monday on Frontier Airlines Flight 1143. She was allowed to board that plane with a slight fever the day before she tested positive for the killer virus. Dave.
Rachel, the selling is on Wall Street. The Dow's now down 80 points. It was off 175 earlier, despite a report showing the first-time unemployment claims fell last week to the lowest level in 14 years, down to 264,000. This is Fox News Radio. Fair and balanced.
You've been thinking about switching to solar. Don't wait much longer or you'll miss out on this year's federal tax credit. Move quickly because the tide is turning. Solar power is becoming a threat to big energy profits. In fact, some power even pushing for extra fees to make up for lost revenue. Warning, you must have your solar system up and running by midnight December 31st or you'll miss out on this year's federal tax credit. Energy prices are expected to increase by as much as 40% in the near future. Go solar now with no down payment, interest, or payments for a whole year. You can afford it because we finance. Get your government money and save big every month. Big Energy is getting nervous and the door of opportunity is about to slam shut. Paying $150 a month or more on energy bills? Then call 1-800-MySolar now for a free in-home assessment. 1-800-MySolar.
My home, my savings, 1-800-MySolar.
If you're ready for the movies, there's just one place to go. Check out movies8.com. It's showtime. Movie times, previews, and more. Get tickets, friends, stuff. Lots of information to explore. Great restaurants. Now you'll know just what before and after every show. Check out movies8.com. It's showtime.
Hi, I'm Senator Anna Fairclough. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of seeing good people attacked. And that's why I'm speaking to you about my friend Kathy Giesel. Senator Giesel deeply cares about her neighbors and what matters to them. She takes the time to listen to their issues and bring those concerns to Juneau. I'm disappointed that her opponent and not stand on his own record. Kathy Giesel is someone I'm proud to work with, and with your support, she'll continue to fight for you. Thanks, Anna. I'm Senator Kathy Giesel. I'm proud to serve with great Alaskans like Anna Fairclough, and I'm proud to be your voice in Juneau. I'll stand on my record and the work I've done in Juneau. From issues like healthcare, jobs, education, and a long-term fiscal plan to keep Alaska on the right track, I'm there for you. Paid for by Reelect Senator 701 Ridgewood Road, Anchorage, Alaska 99516.
Glen Biegel, you have beautiful teeth. Why, thank you, Dan Fagan. That's because my family and I have gone to Dr. Dan Kiley for years. I get scared at the dentist. Dr. Kiley knows people like you are afraid, so he creates a relaxed atmosphere at his office. People actually like going to the dentist for Dr. Kiley. I know it's important to have good dental health, and you look better with good teeth. And Dr. Kiley offers cosmetic dentistry along with general care. Visit Dr. Dan Kiley at lakeotisdental.com. Call him at 562-9209.
Alaska's Energy, America's Values, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. EnergyandValues.com. Mark Begich is unbelievable.
Washington thinks it knows what's best for Alaska, and that's what I'm fighting against every day.
Fighting? Begich voted for all Obama's appointments, like Sally Jewell as Secretary of the Interior. Jewell immediately said no to exploration in Anwar, and no to a King Cove road. Begich didn't fight Washington. He rolled over, like he rolled over for Obamacare. Now Begich is trying to duck and hide on Obamacare, on oil taxes, on cap and trade, on the IRS scandal, even on Anwar. How can you deliver Anwar, Mark, when Harry Reid says a Democrat-controlled Senate will never allow an Anwar vote? Alaskans can't trust a thing Begich says. It's time to replace Malarkey Mark with U.S. Senator Dan Sullivan.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel in the morning. Give him a call, 569-1080. KOAN.
7:06 a.m. KOAN, KVNT, Beagle, Bonnie, and Brian. I just totally dropped Fagan out of it.
We can't forget Dan.
No, of course not. He will be back Monday. He will save me from myself, and he will resurrect the show from the ashes upon which it is right now. And on studio, Anna Dubé is going to be with us here in just a moment. Let me tell you about Specialty Truck and Auto and Keith Monternock and his fantastic team over there. It really is a question as to whether or not you can trust the people who you get your car service from. And I will tell you for a fact that you can trust Keith and his team. 349-1637 and they're right across from the Long Branch Saloon over on Abbott. Just a great group of folks and completely trustworthy, and that differentiates them from virtually all other. And it's one of the reasons why he's been in business so long. Very hard-working guy and just one of the greatest guys that I know. Keith Monternock, Specialty Truck and Auto, 349-1637. Go pay him a visit. You gonna put headphones on? Have you just totally? He needs those headphones. Oh no, okay, we're all right. We're all right.
Okay.
We're in good shape. Anna Dubé in studio with me, and I just want to give a review of how in flux politics is, and how politically speaking, particularly on the conservative side, we are starved for candidates who are different, and this is in a good way. This is going somewhere good on it.
Right, not different like not the usual jabs you take at me, right? This better not be one.
But this race, if you could have said that a race was unwinnable, if you could have said that a race was so over before it ever began that it shouldn't even be run, that how much you're gonna, if you put $50,000 of money into this race, you will have wasted $100,000. That's how unwinnable this race was. You're up against Matt Clayman. It has not turned out that way. It does not look like that. And to me, that is a credit to you, to really a new generation of conservatives, to people who are not afraid and who know that they do have the right answers and that government is not necessarily or shouldn't be always the answer that they seek. So I just want to welcome you to the program, and I'm so excited by your race. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Glenn. Good morning. Well, I can't take all the credit. I mean,
your feet can, and your shoes that you run through your wife,
yes,
your dad,
family,
your mom.
That's it. My family, I've got small band of volunteers, but phenomenal, group of people.
Are they merry by any chance?
Yeah.
Robin Hood.
Yes, they almost have to be. I mean, and then of course my neighbors, and more than anything else. I mean, as much as our district is supposed to be this middle of the road district. It was carried by Mr. Obama in 2012.
The only district?
The only district, yes, or something like that, yeah.
In the whole state of Alaska?
Probably, I could be wrong about that.
Well, the lines have been read.
In 2012, I got 45% of the votes when Mr. Obama got, that district. Point in all of this is that people have a desire to see something different. And that's the key to it all. I mean, I made it a point to go to people. And of course, not a lot of people will agree with my politics in the area, but all we ask for is a positive dialogue. Don't yell and scream at me. Don't be overly upset. Not as much as I maybe got the first time around.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a pretty pleasant experience, all said and done. But you still meet these absolutely negative people sometimes, and you just have to take that in your stride. But overall, people want something different. And even the so-called, let's say, lefties, the liberals, whatever label you want to give people, even they saw something in our campaign. And of course, we had to shed all our labels this time around. I mean, if you look at our walk literature, you look at our agenda, I mean, we don't have, the word conservative. I realize that these are just labels. I mean, what does it even mean anymore? What does it mean to be a conservative?
Well, a lot of times what it means is I have a tribe, and if you don't like my word, you're not in my tribe, and I'm not on your side. And so that's one of the reasons why labels are harder to use.
Yes. And I think, this is very detrimental to America today. I mean, as a nation, we have become so bitter and divided. We have our own news outlets. I mean, we hang out with like-minded people. I mean, what's next? A civil war again? I mean, we just fought this war, meaning like the War of Independence, right? When we became America, but the idea was people had enough of a political difference to feel that we needed to take lives. Okay, we got that over with. But we're Americans, and I remind people every door I go to where I meet people that question my credibility, I tell them this. Look, I've sworn allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, not the Democratic Party, not the Republican Party. And so my duty is to serve every American. Now, some Americans might not see it that way, but I truly do. You know, as a first-generation immigrant, I truly do. So I think there's been a lot of different, let's say, factors again this year. And people, of course, were, you know, very upset with all the flip-flopping that they saw in 2012. Remember the lady that won in 2012? Won as a Democrat and then turned over to Republican, so that had some residual effects.
Did you ever talk to her about that? It was Lindsay Holmes, by the way, and she ran against you. You got a much larger percentage of vote than anybody ever thought. And so she sort of changed over, became a member of the, which committee was it?
I think
the
yes, she joined the majority, and then she got on the finance committee.
But is there any other reason? I mean, I always postulated that as she ran against you, she found out that, you know, not everybody who's a Republican or is a conservative is a bad person. And I thought that might have been...
Well, that, and I think that Miss Holmes is you know, a fairly popular legislator in that area. I mean, she was well liked by both the Democrats and the Republicans, and that was a fact that we discovered when we went door to door. So she had popular appeal, and as much as people expect Republicans to vote Republicans and Democrats, we defied that mold a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
people are breaking away from that mold, by the way.
I think so. Alaskans have always been strongly independent. I mean, I've got 60% of my district as U's and N's, right? So it's just one of those interesting phenomena that we were living through, and then a lot of hard work, right? I mean, I've known hard work all my life. I've not been a rich person ever.
How many miles did you have to walk uphill to school?
Oh, you know.
Actually, you were born into a pretty different life.
Yes. So, I mean, you know, I was born into a middle-class family in India, and what that means in India is that you're not starving, but you don't have, you know, this abject material wealth either. So my parents chose to send me to a private school, public school, and they spent 1/10 of their monthly income or more just on our tuition. And, you know, it was a Catholic school, so I was taught by Jesuit priests and
pretty
so
rough on you?
Pretty rough on us. I mean, not the, you know, by the time these guys came to our school in Chandigarh, right, they were very, very old. You know, this was their retirement home. These priests, you know, they served in the hellholes of Calcutta and things of that nature in India. So they were all toned down. So it was a good education. But the thing is, you know, I've never really had anything given to me easily. I mean, I had to work for everything. So this election is just an example of it. So to me, when I decided to serve, I was like, look, this is where I serve. I live here. I'm not going to find an excuse. I know I can't go pick up a rifle and fight for America in Iraq or Afghanistan or any other places, but this is where I can fight.
On your own street.
That's it.
On a debate in studio with me, 7:14 a.m. Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie. It is Thursday, October 16th. We are less than 3 weeks away from an election, and I hope you participate in that. Anand's running for a state house here in Anchorage. Stay tuned.
Don't just sit there. 569 Teddy. Join the conversation.
Trail Boss Solutions is your local award-winning, nationally recognized construction and remodel firm. From handyman services to kitchen design and remodel to custom home construction, Trail Boss Solutions has the experienced professionals to take your project from initial design through completion, on time and on budget. Trail Boss Solutions is the only call for all your construction, design, and remodel needs. Please visit us on the web at trailboss-solutions.com or contact Trail Boss Solutions direct at 646-1403.
In Washington, Mark voted with Barack Obama 97% of the time, adding trillions to the national debt, casting the deciding vote for Obamacare, and protecting Obama's executive amnesty for illegal immigrants. Alaska needs a senator who will fight back against Obama's agenda. As our Attorney General, Dan Sullivan sued to stop Obamacare and defended our Second Amendment rights. As Alaska's DNR Commissioner, Sullivan stood down Obama's EPA, unleashed new energy production, and created Alaskan jobs. Big spenders from bankrupting America. Sullivan will cut wasteful spending and support a balanced budget.
Advising them and scanning and routing them, and if all goes well, having my clients sign them.
Obamacare. Dan.
Printers and MFPs, customized apps and services. Kyocera Document Solutions helps you capture, distribute, and manage the many documents that matter.
Legal Documents 101. Now that ought to be a course.
If the document is important, the company is
Matt, we're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the why, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the why.
Hot Talk KOAN, man. You're on with Fagan and Biegel. 1080KOAN.com.
Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie. Fagan will be back on Monday. So it's Biegel, Bonnie, and Brian, the Buzz, and Anand Dubey. What percentage of people, by the way, do you think can properly pronounce your name, including your opponent?
How about 0. 0.09? But the funny
other than me.
Here's a funny story. So I did meet a gentleman who actually could say my name perfectly, Anand, right? And he thought he was pronouncing it wrong. So he meets me at the door and goes, "Man, I'm so sorry. I've been saying your name wrong. I call you Anand, then, but your name is really Anand, right?" I was like, "No, you're the only guy I've ever met who's Caucasian in case they can say my name right."
Oh my gosh, the people who are the most frightened and seemingly always have been are not Democrats for your election. It is Republicans. And the reason is that they didn't elect you. They won't have been responsible for you. Not that, they're out actively campaigning on behalf of the Democrat. They're just not involved. And so this will be a win from you and from the people in your district. And I really think from that, they will have an outsider's view of what the party is and what the party should be.
Yes, I mean, I think overall it's very safe to say that the Republican Party is not as organized, or it can be better organized, right, in so many ways. And
it's not as organized as the Democrats. If you're a Democrat and you want to run for office, they will welcome you with open arms as long as you're the person that they picked. They'll give you a website. They'll give you sign locations. The whole machine opens right up and welcomes you with open arms.
Good technology, good ways to call and do outreach. That's why, I think there is fewer Democrats overall in the nation, in the state, and yet they have been able to get these crucial seats because they, again, are fairly better organized compared to the Republicans. And then on the Republican side, the other big issue I've seen is that there's a lot of divisions, right? I mean, there's divisiveness just based on multiple criterias. And then the other strange phenomena I've seen is every Democrat house I've gone, they already knew all about me in this season. So, and
like yet, good things or bad things?
Well, good, bad, both of them. Some were like, but they all knew me. Some of them like, get out.
So they're plugged in, is what you're saying,
right?
They're informed.
Yes, they were. There's some are straight up. Oh, I know exactly who you are. Don't waste your time. Get out. Right? That sort of thing. But we've never voted for Republican, and we never will, and that sort of thing. And yet, after second time running, right? I still run into Republican house. The most unique Republicans don't know my name. Okay, well, here's who I am. So I find that almost frightening.
Well, don't you think though that part of that, first of all, if you're a Democrat, you're because there's such a small percentage of society. I think 14% of Alaskans are registered Democrats, the lowest number by far anywhere in the country. It's not even close. So we have this small group of Democrats, but I do get the sense that they're all pretty well tied in.
Right. And so they definitely seem, the Democrat, if you can profile that, seems to be a better traveled, better informed
Mm-hmm.
citizen.
But on the Republican side, let me ask you this: that when we go to the newspaper and we
Mhm.
start reading things, there will almost always be negative toward our candidates.
Right.
And when we go to Bob and Mark, the whoever it is that's on in the morning, they're almost always going to be negative toward the conservative viewpoint of the less government, limited government, personal responsibility, faith, family, and tradition, whatever it is. And so a lot of times what that causes people to do is they just withdraw. They're going to go vote, but they don't really want to talk about it because it's kind of a painful experience. That's what society has basically set it up to be.
Right. Yes, but if let's just look within ourselves, and again, I'm going to use the principles of Mahatma Gandhi and the teachings of the eastern part of the world. I mean, let's look within for change first. It's very easy to point to somebody else and say, I want you to change. Really, the only thing I can control between you and me is me, right? That's all I can control. So I think really the Republican mindset has to ask itself, have you been as conducive as you can be so that you will be able to access the other guy's brain, right? I mean, that's a crucial thing to sort of understand. And so we've not made our philosophies, our ideology as palatable. I mean, think of this. We're the party of Lincoln, for God's sake. Look how far we've strayed. I mean, we were the party of the people. And look where we are today. I mean, we have become so non-people friendly. And I'm saying this with as much love as I can bring about on this topic. So seriously,
well, you're out there on the streets. You see this all the time. And
that's it.
People never expect you when they talk to you, is what the sense that I get.
That's it. So our popularity, even though we're Republicans in this district, is because of that fact. We perfect, and I consider myself to be a change agent within the Republican Party. I think if I win this race, you will see a totally different posture.
Like what kind of stuff? What are you going to do differently?
I don't know if I'm going to do anything necessarily differently.
What sets you apart?
Well, like I said, more people friendly, right? And less rhetoric, less fiery rhetoric. I mean, I don't hate anybody.
Right, but what about like fiscally? I keep hearing how fiscally responsible you are, and so,
well, so again, when it comes to fiscal responsibility, I mean, I think more in terms of service management, right? So I come from a world of engineering and information technology, and in that world, you think in terms of services. So, for example, if somebody comes to collect your garbage, that's a service. And then you ask yourself, what does it really take to fund that garbage collection service? So you have trucks, you have people, you have garbage that has to be recycled. And so you try to calculate around that service. So the total cost of that service, you ask yourself, is the service as efficient as it can be? And you compare that service to maybe a garbage collection service in Dallas and things of that nature. So if you take that approach and you take government and you sort of dissolve it on a service basis, now you can start seeing measurable things. You can start seeing action items. But currently, guess what we're doing? Whether it's education or any other aspect of government, there is no service orientation. All we hear is, okay, we
need more people.
Right. Education. We need more people. We need more money. But if you look at the Anchorage School District, there's over 17 services that they very unique services, right? From teaching in the classroom is one service, in-class teaching. Then there's the kitchens, there's nurses, there's transportation. And so part of it is like, okay, well, this money, where will it go? What is lacking? And if I give it to this service, will you not put it to that service, and would you let it bleed into some other service? And when I say fiscal responsibility, that's what I mean. That, first of all, even knowing, and then just be smart. I mean, how do you run your house? I mean, do you run your house on I mean, you get a paycheck, then when your paycheck runs out, then what? Maybe you go crying to mommy and daddy a few times, right? Once you've just left the house. But then what? Ultimately, what happens? Who comes and bails you out at your house? So whatever,
yeah,
processes you the house. I mean, that's
so you're wanting to do that in every part of state government that you can.
and show to the citizens. I mean, we have the technology now to crowdsource it all. So, for example, if your roads are not working, police is not responding to you in the correct manner, all of this could be put on a basic Google map, and people can click and say, so many crimes occurred in this neighborhood, and police came here 55 times, and the response times was 35 seconds every time. And so now all of a sudden we can see where the resources in Anchorage that night went. See what I'm saying? And I start seeing patterns. So you make government more transparent to people, services-wise, because right now it's very esoteric. We don't even know. All we know is like, oh my God, it's government.
Well, it's not that we don't know. The people who are legislators don't know, right? The purpose of the budget is not to figure out ways what we do and how to do it more efficiently. The purpose of the budget is just to explain here's where $12 billion went,
right?
But not to lead to anything.
Yes, and to some extent, what I discovered working for bureaucracy, because I've got 4 years with the state of Alaska as a top technology character, is that bureaucracy wants to hide money because that's how they can react to changes. Because these guys they're not agile as businesses. So if they want $100, they'll ask for $150. They'll ferret away the $50. And then they never give it back. So these $50, $100, $1,000 hammer stories you hear, it is actually true. I have seen that, and that's one way I control the cost in my agency. End of year purchases, I was like, no, if we have money left over, we're not going to simply blow it away because we have it left over.
I remember that in the state when I worked there. They would say, okay, the fiscal year's almost over. We need to use up all our office supply budget.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of a BS is that? You know what I'm saying? Is that how you run your house? Oh, you know what? End of the month.
Someone else's money.
That's it.
Easier.
And the sad part of it is really not someone else's money. It's our own money.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? It's our own money. And so all this raping and pillaging of public, resources has to stop. And it's like, people are looting with both hands as quickly as they can. And looting and running away where? Right? If you can leave Alaska, run away, loot Alaska, fine. But you know what? If you're gonna stay right here, we're all gonna hurt together. That's what I keep telling people. Look, if we go back, if the 80s type of crash occurs, it's gonna hurt both the Republicans then that are not getting the money matters. I mean, the guy I'm running against in a ConocoPhillips debate, he openly admitted that he has not the skill sets to read a balance sheet, to do any type of financial analysis, and he's like, oh, I will depend on experts. And
what?
Okay,
you are the expert. What?
Right. And I understand, that not everybody can have every skills. That I've worked a long time in my life to cultivate a lot of skills that I felt I needed as a businessman. But there's something to be said about being able to make your own independent analysis, right? And so
what's it called? BS.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
And it's a critical aspect of it. We're going to be back on, and we'll be in studio with us again, hopefully. Yeah?
Yes.
You going to stay with us?
Yes.
You're listening to Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie, 7:28 a.m., October 14th. It's the Women's Show is today. Is that right, Bonnie?
It's the Women's Summit, Alaska Women's Summit, today and tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for all the women that are there, we're actually having a man's summit at the bar on, and it's with beer and peanuts that will be given out. How do we get a man's summit? That's what I want to know.
It ain't happening, Glenn.
Everybody
Sorry.
who comes in will be given a remote control so that you can enhance your power position.
Set it up.
7:29 a.m.
Travel industry. Initial jobless claims fell by 23,000 to 264,000. Home builders are feeling less confident. The National Association of Home Builders Index fell to 54 in October after 4 months of gains. Any reading above 50 indicates sales conditions are good. And shares of Netflix remain sharply low subscriber numbers in its third quarter. Netflix says it added 3 million users below its own forecast of about 3.7 million, due in part to a price increase that started in May. The news rattled investors after Netflix rival HBO announced plans for an internet-only package in the United States starting next year. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Cheryl Casoni.
Hey guys, if you're into fantasy football, you've got to check out FanDuel.com. At FanDuel, you play in one-week fantasy football leagues for real money with immediate cash payouts. You only play when you want, and you can change your team any week. FanDuel is paying out over $10 million every week this season. And right now, FanDuel is giving you up to $200 free. That's right. For every dollar you deposit, FanDuel will match it up to $200. Just go to FanDuel.com, click their microphone in the upper right corner, and enter code 5544. FanDuel.com, code 5544.
With KOAN News, I'm Chuck White. A Glen Highway lane closure reportedly caused a delay resulted with tens of thousands of commuters showing up late for work Wednesday morning. Miscommunications were to blame for the incident, as the lane closure apparently had been expected to be lifted hours earlier. Yes, thanks. The Seward Chamber of Commerce has settled a negligence lawsuit with the widow of Michael LeMaitre for $20,000. She said the claim that Mount Marathon staffers played a role in the man's disappearance was never about the money. Peggy LeMaitre had sought $5 million. Her husband was last seen about 200 feet below turnaround point. During the 2012 race, his body was never found. He was legally declared dead later that summer. Finally, H&M has announced plans to open a clothing store at the Diamond Center. 31,000 square foot shop will sell clothes for men, women, and children on 2 floors, part of a multi-year expansion at the mall in South Anchorage. That's your Hot Talk News update.
Mostly cloudy skies for today, high 43. Cloudy tonight, low 28. Sunshine and clouds tomorrow, high 43. Friday night, low 28. Saturday, clouds and sunshine, high 42. Sunday, clouds and sunshine, high 40. And Monday, high again, 40. Hot Talk, breaking news, and the latest weather, KOAN 95.1 FM and 1080 AM.
Nothing better than big, meaty Alaska king crab. And what a special new Sagayan City Market have for you right now. Large golden king crab, first of the season, Alaska catch. Big, meaty clusters, legs and claws, only just the good stuff. Right now, just $17.99 a pound. That's a great price. Right now in the seafood department's new Sagayan City Market. You know, I honestly don't know which I like better, the big king crab or the sweet and juicy Dungeness crab. New Sagayan City Market are also featuring live dungies this week. Clicking and a-clacking in the big seawater tanks, just $9.99 a pound. And they'll cook them for you if you like. Dungeness crab, boy, that's good eating. And in the butcher shops, it's top sirloin steak for all the red meat carnivores among us. They come in the handy family pack, and they're special this week, $5.19 a pound. The La Roma Bakery and Delis in both New Sagayan City Market are featuring fresh baked bread every day, and this week's European bread special is honey wheat bread. You get 2 loaves for $6, and you'll never find a fresher bread. New Sagayan, Midtown City Market, 13th and I.
When I grew up, I wanted to be a pro basketball player.
An elementary school teacher. Oh, an Olympic gymnast.
No matter what dream you choose or where you are in life, your local Country Financial representative offers helpful advice on everything from auto and home insurance to financial planning, education to retirement, and business insurance too, so that you can continue to grow and dream. For more information, visit countryfinancial.com or call 1-866-COUNTRY. Country Financial. Grow your own way.
Do you remember that Beatles song? If the rain comes, they'll run and hide their heads. You know which one I'm talking about. Well, if that's you and you're inside your home or office, it's time to call Earhart Roofing. Call Earhart Roofing for all your roofing needs. Flat or pitched, large or small, Earhart Roofing will do the job quickly, and they'll do it right. Earhart Roofing, big enough to serve you and still small enough to care. Call 345-5555. That's 345-5555.
Here's my good friend, Keith Montronock.
Automotive repairs can be frustrating. Let me help. Call 349-1637. I have been in business for nearly 20 years at the same location. Specialty Truck and Auto is in South Anchorage behind the Long Branch Saloon where Diamond becomes Abbott. I have 6 ASE certified technicians working from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. I have a voucher for any of the 6 Alaska delays each customer. If you schedule ahead and need a ride when you drop your vehicle off, I may be able to help. Call Specialty Truck and Auto, 349-1637.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel.
7:35 a.m. Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie. If you are looking to change your life, it could be that maybe you've been overweight for a couple of decades, as I had been, and finally got my act together and found a place that could help me lose the weight. It was Chugach Chiropractic and Massage. Lost 45 pounds, and it really did. It changed a lot of things. I became much younger looking, of course, much better looking. Anand is agreeing with me completely. But I want to let you know that they are there if you are looking for somebody to assist you in probably one of the hardest parts of life, because you're going to have to develop new habits. You're going to have to be disciplined and stay the course. But if you do that and you have the help of a place like Chugach Chiropractic, you can change your life. 694-9224. Over there, a doctor and the rest of his doctors and staff are there to serve you. 694-9224, Chugach Chiropractic. Anand Dubey, running for State House, is in studio with me, and I have a much, I always like to talk about sort of the change in politics that's going on, but I do want to get back to your House race and find out what the top 3 issues are that are going on, and just make sure that we have the pulse of the people, as I'm sure you know, because I think you're probably the hardest working person running for office this time, if I may put that label on you. I know Kathy Giesel works hard too.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's on.
Am I live? Okay. Yeah, so the top issues, man, obviously education is a top issue everywhere. I mean, so most people don't even think in terms of issues, I'll be quite honest, right? And but the people that do think in terms of issues,
what do they think in terms of? What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean,
my pothole on my street, or
yeah, streets are very important, and people talk about speed bumps, and people don't really have a clear-cut definition of state versus local services. So they think of government as a single entity, and they might have public safety concerns, and that, of course, could be a mixture of state troopers and Anchorage police and things of that nature. So, but interestingly enough, our district, because it's in an urban area, our district is more concerned by policy issues. So if I were to get elected and never get a single dollar back into my district, I think my district would be fine, because most services are available, good roads, there's good schools overall, and so on and so forth. Now compare our district to rural Alaska. Now if I was a legislator from rural Alaska, the expectation would be that I get a lot of pork home. So my people, people of West Anchorage, truly do worry about budgets, government spending, and policy issues. So people that have talked to me, there's been lots of policy discussions, and so there's not been one sort of specific, issue that's come to the fore. But the budget has been a huge one. I mean, people are absolutely worried that government spending has not been in control, and that more needs to happen there. And this whole oil taxation became a big thing. SB 21 was huge in our district. So, I mean, that's what I would say overall.
Well, and I know that your district was probably split like most districts, and maybe even voted to remove SB 21. I would imagine that they're happy now that they know that it protected us on the low end.
Yes, and again, unfortunately, here's what has been occurring. We have been making laws using the public input process, I guess I'll say. And that the interesting part about all of this is, let's just talk about SB 21. Most people can't even do their own taxes. They use TurboTax, right, to do their own taxes.
Okay, that is doing your own taxes, frankly,
right.
And I do my own taxes.
Okay, perfect. So now let me pick on you, right? So if you were using TurboTax to do your taxes, how can I expect you to make a sound decision on a complex taxation bill like SB 21? Seriously.
Especially with, so much misinformation.
That's it. So you go into that booth and you have this one page and you're reading on it. So unless you've taken 40, 50 hours of research time, which nobody did. So my challenge to everybody that I met was, show me how you're not voting emotionally. I think 99% people voted emotionally. They had already bought into the rhetoric, right or left. Either oil companies are bad or oil companies are good. And what was interesting was I saw two camps, the Republican camp and I saw the Democrat camp. And I saw both camps, coming out with these slogans and chants, like the cheerleaders. And then the crowd would just like pick up one cheer, and then they would keep cheering. And I was like, okay. And you know, whenever our citizens vote emotionally, it's very dangerous for all of us.
And that's what we see happening here in the next few weeks
Well,
on
here's
all these ballot measures.
The reality of the situation, by the way, is if more than 5% of people in Alaska think oil companies are bad, they could not be more misinformed. Our state doesn't even exist without massive
My point
oil
is that, you know, people feel what they feel. It's a complex process of how you get your emotions where they are, and sometimes no kinds of reasoning will get you out of it.
Yeah, once you start processing things emotionally and you try to bring rationality into it, it's
Right.
a long road and a
Right.
very rough road to try and get you back.
So what I told people was, look, if the reason we have representative democracy is because we choose our representative to go do the hard work. So the idea was that these 60 people that we have, 40 in House and 20 in Senate, we asked them to come up with this good bill, and SB 21 came through that process. If you don't like SB 21, then and don't vote against SB 21, vote against those legislators.
That's right.
Really what you need to do is you need to unelect and then elect somebody different, and keep doing it as many times as necessary till you get people that you trust.
And that's like with AO 37. You
That's
know, the
it.
mayor went and vetoed it. If you don't like the mayor, vote in a different mayor.
That's it. So and I could go down the list. So don't get me wrong. I think this is a very valuable process that we give people an option of making laws. If this becomes a norm, then my challenge to people is, look, why even have the House of
It's a
Representatives?
mobocracy.
Or just
Yep.
let's not even
Mob
have
rule.
government. And let's have crowdsourcing. Let's all propose legislations. Computing is there, and we'll all vote together, and we'll make direct laws directly from our households, right? So I mean, it's become a very, very complex issue. Nobody's giving up. Once people lose the battle in the legislature, then the next battle is, okay, let's just put this in the ballot box.
Or the courts, the environmental
Or the
groups are
courts.
constantly suing us in order to prevent us from doing activities here. Tell me about education, though. When you go door to door, you say if there was an issue, quote, an issue that comes up, it's education all the time. What are people looking for from education? Are they worried? Do they know how much it costs? First of all,
So most people either think that education is way costly, or they think education needs more money. It didn't seem like there was a middle ground, right? And most people had no idea what it should cost. There was no benchmark in their head.
I heard that you asked people, how much do you think we spend on education right now?
Right, and the people who are willing to talk. And then if people were able to answer that question.
Did they give you an answer?
I mean, to some extent, some people tried, and then I further, if they were willing to chat with me, I would ask, hey, where do you think this money would come from, right? Right now, let's say if I keep funding you, where would you go? And people have said, okay, let's blow away the PFD, let's blow away the CBR, right? People have said that to me at the doors on education. And don't get me wrong, man, I think it's a worthwhile investment. I think investing in our education is fundamentally the best thing we can do, because the world can take everything away from you, all your material wealth, but the one thing that cannot ever be taken away from you is your education. That's a fact, right? So, and then I would tell people, but even in like a year or 2 years or 5 years, the way we're going, CBR will be gone. Now what? Now what, right? And then we're like, oh, let's put income tax. And then we'll tell them, look, there's not enough people to have enough income tax. Now what? Oh, let's put sales tax. So, I mean, it was an interesting conversation where certain people just weren't ready to believe that there is not a bottomless pit of lasagna for Garfield.
7:44 a.m. on, and thanks for coming in, running for a State House in West Anchorage. Stay tuned.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel. Give him a call, 569-1080, KOAN.
Is your IT department's first-line support calls about printer jams and broken printers? Are individual departments purchasing expensive printer cartridges that get buried in office supply budgets? Is your printer support strategy really a printer replacement plan? Let Alaska Enterprise Solutions show you how to reduce those high print costs. AES is a Xerox professional agency in Alaska with Xerox's worldwide support behind them. You can reach us at aesalaska.com or 561-5100.
911, please hold. 911, please hold.
Anchorage has 80 fewer cops on duty than it did 5 years ago, even though the city is bigger. More people, less coverage. Emergency vehicles get pulled from the hillside or Eagle River to cover Midtown when there are multiple accidents or ambulance calls. And that may mean a much longer response time for somebody who needs help. AO 37 removes police and firefighters from the discussion about staffing and equipment. Their experience is ignored, replaced by someone who doesn't understand what swift water rescue means to Eagle River or what rigs are best for hillside roads in winter. Vote no on 1. Let's stop playing politics with public safety. This message is paid for by Repeal 37 and approved by former Police Chief Walt Monaghan and former Fire Chief Greg Goodrich, chairs. Top 3 contributors are APDEA, Anchorage Firefighters, and AFSCME International of Washington, D.C.
This is Dr. Ellenberg. Are you tired of taking medications? Do your medications create more side effects than solutions? Do you want more than 15 minutes with your doctor? If you answer yes to those questions, you should consider calling the Ellenberg Center for Natural Medicine. At our center, we take the time to listen and focus on finding the cause of cold, high blood pressure, diabetes, or cancer. We can help. Call the Ellenberg Center for Natural Medicine at 563-2366 or visit us online at drellenberg.com. We can help.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel in the morning. Give him a call, 569-1080. KOAN.
Dead now.
Big. 747-8. Yeah, we're on. We're on. We were talking about noses there, by the way. And Bonnie's big nose.
And I did not say that.
He did not say that, although you did say that you could see all the way up it.
Yeah, because of the way the camera was.
Well, we fixed all that.
So if anybody wants to see my big nose, go to YouTube.
YouTube. We actually broadcast. We're on an enormous number of signals. You're listening to Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie. Fagan, we'll be back next Monday, so it's Biegel, Bonnie, and Brian, the Buzz. And buzz. But we're on KOAN, KVNT, 1020 and 92.5 out in the valley, 1080 and 95.1 here in town. And you can also get us, we stream live at 1080 KOAN. And what's the app that you go to?
TuneIn?
Yeah, TuneIn's my personal favorite.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an app. There's a KOAN app if you look it up in your app store as well, or a KVNT app, whichever you prefer.
There's a great option for you if you get to the office and can't get our signal any other way or want to listen on your headphones. And then we stream a video broadcast of this program as well, which you can go back and look at historical shows.
Yeah, you go right on YouTube and then just type in Fagan Show, and it would have said Biegel Show, but that one was taken. So
was it?
you can watch it live, and you can watch any archive show, and you can also watch that on an app live on your phone. And if you can't stream it, you can listen or watch whatever.
I noticed that Brian's a bad liar. Did you notice that? He just actually.
I was trying to throw a
I think
compliment.
he can lie. Hey, I wanted to let people know too that Vote Yes on One signs are available at the Republican Party headquarters off of Fireweed.
Yeah, and they're not responsible for the Yes on One campaign. They're just
They're
the place
offering
where everybody
the
knows.
signs.
So it's like 1000 Fireweed Lane or 1001. Okay, 1001.
Right.
That was close.
And you should call first before you go over there.
What's the number? 276. Gosh, I used to know that number by heart. I used to call it all the time. Had wonderful, long conversations.
I'm not a Republican, so.
Well, what do you think of Anand?
I thought he was great. Oh, that number is 276-4467.
He's a changing of the guard for government in this way. First of all, he's somebody who's been very successful in life. He has an MBA from APU. He has an engineer. He's a chemical engineer, and he has been in business for a long period of time. He's also had the benefit of running a large organization for the state of Alaska, seeing the waste up front, knowing exactly, because he had access to all the budgets, and he knows where a lot of the bodies are buried. But he's part of a new wave of people who are conservative, who don't really see the answers that they keep getting from government as acceptable. Like, people will say, well, what happens if we do run out of money? What happens if the constitutional budget reserve is gone? Well, then we put an income tax on people. Oh, really? like a $10,000 a person income tax? People don't have that money. That's not an answer. What do we do then? When we put a sales tax on people, what, a 10, 12 sales tax? People don't have that kind of money.
Yeah,
People
but we
are-
can't just keep working off the property owners either.
Well, that's the simplest way to grab our income here in the city of Anchorage. Do you like the sales tax, Dia?
I'm starting to, but it would have to be with the
With
thought
an
in mind
offset?
that there's no, property taxes go
We
way down,
still
and
have a
it
property
would
cap.
have to happen first for
Yeah.
me to go for the sales tax.
Now, here's what I would like to see as a solution to this, because I don't mind property owners paying the taxes. What I do mind is people who rent thinking that they don't pay taxes. That bothers me.
Mhm.
If you are a renter, guess what? Newsflash, you're paying taxes just like everybody else.
Your rent is your taxes are included in your rent.
Now, what I would suggest people do is, and I've been working on getting a website so you can do this really easily. First of all, sign rental agreements which say, if my property taxes go up, your rent goes up.
So
And I
vote
am
carefully.
going to publish to you how much your rent will go up if my property taxes go up.
I wish more people.
Oh, well, that would be nice too.
Yes, more separate checks, and also not including property taxes in mortgages.
Although you are living a little bit in the past there, Bonnie. Nobody writes checks.
That's true.
I hate to say that.
Okay,
I hope
a
people
separate
put on their
payment.
phonograph and get in the horse buggy, head down to the library, and my gosh, we're
Hey,
gonna
those were the good old days.
like actually I pay through PayPal, and I don't think I've seen $5 in the last 3 years.
Okay, well, pay online then. How's that?
You got to pay
Satchel of gold.
Pay online.
Yeah. Scrape some gold off and give it to me.
Lots going on around the country. Let me give you a quick update here for you. The court decision has halted same-sex marriages in Alaska, is seeking a higher court decision. And the difficult part here for conservatives to sort of wrestle with is society has always decided what kinds of relationships we will give privileges to and what ones we will recognize. We don't recognize boyfriend-girlfriend. If you're related to each other, you're not allowed to have a relationship. If you're a polygamist, you are not yet allowed to have a relationship, although I'm sure that you will soon. That's recognized by the state. So we've always let society sort of decide this, and frankly, society is wandering away from conservatives after 2 generations of propaganda in schools that say that men and women are the same, fathers don't matter, of propaganda in our media that say marriages are broken, marriages don't work, marriage makes you unhappy, marriages are miserable. So I'm not surprised that we're here and that society is making a different decision than conservatives like. There are other things to fight for, by the way. Prop 5 is a good example of this, where it really is an assault on your religion and an assault on your values. People would be able to cross-dress, go into weird bathrooms, they'd be wearing lipstick and high heels and all kinds of crazy... This is what I want people to realize.
But that was Prop 5 from a
Prop
few years
5
ago.
was an Anchorage proposition put forth by Matt Clayman,
Right.
and supported by Mark Begich, that would have allowed for essentially the full spectrum of our, which we're not ready to handle.
If your little girl goes to the bathroom, there might be a transgender male in there
Yes. Well, not even a transgender male, just
Right.
a male who feels,
identifies himself as a woman all of a
feels
sudden.
female or wants to go into a woman's bathroom because maybe it's cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
And the voters rejected it, right?
The voters rejected it. It was 65-35. But on those battle lines, people really understand that, look, your sexuality does have the ability to offend me, especially if you're trying to be offensive to me. And that the way that we've always done it is a really good way. And that is, if a business owner objects to your sexuality in public, and that's whether you're a 16-year-old boyfriend and girlfriend who are making out in the seat next to somebody, they can object to that. They have that right. And so we are liberalizing on the idea of sexuality in public, homosexuality, sexuality in public too. That will take time. But I have to tell you that the idea, conservatives are not trying to close down Mad Myrna's. So conservatives are trying to outlaw homosexuality in public. But they are trying to say, there is a possibility that you cross-dressing and wearing high heels and stockings and putting lipstick on can offend me, and I have the right to object to that. I don't care how you feel about whether or not you're a man or a woman. That's not my problem. That's your problem, and that's your private behavior. That's what's left to fight about. And that is where this confusion about, well, what does society want to recognize in marriage, and what does society not want to recognize in marriage? And I know a lot of people will be going, Glenn, this wasn't society. It was a judge. It was a federal judge. Guess what? In a lot of places in the country, they have started. Society has liberalized so much that it has supported gay marriage. It's liberalizing here. You look back 30, 40 years, there's probably 5% support for gay marriage. We had a vote on it in 1998, I think it was, and it was 65-35. It's probably 52-48 right now. It's close, and it's going to change because they have control over your schools, and they've convinced your children. If you're a man and if you're a woman, your sexuality is essentially the same. You don't matter. You don't have any differences, at least not that the government cares about. The fact that you have children, that's just not anything of our concern, right?
Well, the lines are sorry, the lines are blurring so much anymore. I mean, even you go to the comment section under any of these stories. Me and a friend of mine were talking the other day, and she said, I don't know about you, but I felt like after I read those, am I the one who's crazy? So many people were for it. They were like, good for them. It's about time. All these comments, and you do start to go, well, maybe I'm the one who has the problem. But then I don't. This is the fabric of our nation we're talking about, and it's unraveling.
Right. Well, and the fabric of the nation is for a father to be tied to his children. I could care less, if I may speak very frankly here, I could care less whether or not two people who are of the same sex are cohabitating with each other. I really don't care. And frankly, it doesn't make any difference to society. You're not going to have children. Your relationship does not matter to anyone
That
other,
actually does
other than
affect
you.
society, though, by people not having children.
Well, but I guess in the very, very general sense, but some people don't want to have children. I'm not going to go around. Look, I'm a Catholic, and I have views on my own sexuality and what marriage is for and all kinds of things, but I'm not going to try and force those on other people.
No.
But as far as society's concerned, all we care about is who has children and that you raise them well and that the dad's around that save them from their bad influences. That's really all we care about. 7:58 a.m., Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie. Stay tuned.
When you've got the best ingredients, the pizza comes out right. That's just what we're cooking for every appetite. Experience the flavor, call us right away. 24/7, it's a pizza party day.
October is National Pizza Month. Just hearing the word pizza brings a smile to almost everyone's face. And Sicily's Pizza wants to make you smile 5 times as big with their National Pizza Month special. Get as many as 5 medium 2-topping pizzas for only $9.99 each. Whatever style you like. For fast delivery, call 333-8000 and order the Sicily's National Pizza Month special. 333-8000 or order online at SicilysPizza.com. Best ingredients, best pizza, Sicily's.
Just call Sicily's Pizza, 333-8000.
You're listening to Hot Talk, KOAN Anchorage, AM 1080, and retranslated on 95.1 FM on K236CG Anchorage.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lisa Brady. Containment will come up a lot at a Capitol Hill hearing just getting underway on Ebola, just a day after the revelation that a second nurse got it in Dallas. Fox News Radio's Steve Taylor live in Washington.
The chairman of a House subcommittee investigating Ebola, Republican Tim Murphy, says the government should consider a temporary ban on people coming to the U.S. from Africa. And for those who've already arrived,
I believe there should be further restrictions on them, perhaps quarantining while they're in this incubation period.
Murphy's committee will question officials from the CDC, the National Institutes of Health, and the company that owns the Texas hospital where nurses have been exposed to Ebola. Lisa.
Steve, there's late word the first nurse infected in Dallas is being transferred to a biocontainment facility at the National Institutes of Health. The second nurse was moved yesterday to Emory in Atlanta. She had traveled to Cleveland and back after treating the Liberian Ebola patient who died.
This should be a wake-up call to make public health care investment a priority in the United States of America.
Randy Weingarten heads the American Federation of Teachers, which also represents some healthcare professionals. Expanded screenings arriving at 4 more U.S. airports today. The TSA Administrator, John Pistol, just announcing retirement from public service at year's end. He has an academic position lined up. A friend of the Boston Marathon bombing suspect accused of lying to the FBI 3 days after the bombing has a high-profile defense witness. Former Massachusetts governor and presidential hopeful Michael Dukakis, who says his family and defendant Robel Filippo's family are longtime friends. Prosecutors say Filippos lied about being in Dzhokhar Tsarnaev's dorm room when 2 other friends removed potential evidence. A brief trip into positive territory for the Dow, but right now, it's now down 85 points. You're listening to Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
You've been thinking about switching to solar. Don't wait much longer or you'll miss out on this year's federal tax credit. Move quickly because the tide is turning. Solar power's becoming a threat to big energy profits. In fact, some power companies are even pushing for extra fees to make up for lost revenue. Warning, you must have your solar system up and running by midnight December 31st, or you'll miss out on this year's federal tax credit. Energy prices are expected to increase by as much as 40% in the near future. Go solar now with no down payment, interest, or payments for a whole year. You can afford it because we finance. Get your government money and save big every month. Big Energy is getting nervous and the door of opportunity is about to slam shut. Paying $150 a month or more on energy bills? Then call 1-800-MY-SOLAR now for a free in-home assessment. 1-800-MY-SOLAR.
My home, my savings, 1-800-MY-SOLAR.
If you're ready for the movies, there's just one place to go. Check out movies8.com. It's showtime, movie times, previews, and more. Get tickets, win stuff, lots of information to explore. Great restaurants. Now you'll know just where to go before and after every show. Check out movies8.com. It's showtime.
Alaskans have waited decades for a natural gas pipeline. Made historic progress on Alaska's gas line, thanks to the leadership of Governor Sean Parnell. Engineers are designing the line right now. We have the gas, we have the route, and we have the offtakes to supply energy for Alaska communities. But Bill Walker doesn't like it. He called the Alaska LNG project fatally flawed and wants to study the plan or renegotiate it, which will add years of delays and could kill the gas line altogether. Look at Walker's track record. For years, he's pushed a pipeline plan that had no permits, no gas, no sellers, and no buyers. The Alaska LNG project is underway. Let's stick with the plan that's working and the governor who's making it happen, Sean Parnell. Paid for by Parnell Sullivan 2014, Box 100719 Anchorage.
All my life, I've enjoyed hunting and fishing, but as I got older, it made it harder to enjoy the Alaskan outdoors. Thanks to Chugach Chiropractic, I'm back on the stream enjoying Alaska.
Besides aligning the spine, we also deal with the musculature and the nervous system of the body. To do that, we not only adjust the spine, but we also balance muscles along with various therapies and deep tissue therapy. We help bring the body back to normal function.
When Malarkey Mark Begich ran for U.S. Senator, he made a lot of claims about his record as Anchorage mayor. Begich knew the truth wouldn't come to light before the election. But now, history is caught up with Malarkey Mark. Under Begich, Anchorage taxes went up 27%. Under Begich, the city budget ballooned, a $142 million increase in spending. Under Begich, the city was saddled with unprecedented 5-year union contracts. Under Begich, a deficit of over $20 million was left for the next mayor to deal with. Begich left Anchorage in serious trouble. Alaska's Energy, America's Values paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. It's time to replace Malarkey Mark with U.S. Senator Dan Sullivan. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. EnergyandValues.com.
Hot Talk KOAN, man. You're on with Fagan and Biegel. 1080.
8:06 a.m. Happy Thursday, Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie. Fagan will be back on Monday, so it's Biegel, Bonnie, and Brian, the Buzz. The Buzz. And I'd love to hear from you. 569-1080. Liz Vasquez is going to be on the program with us shortly. Let me tell you about your financial future. If you haven't planned it, I hate to tell you this, but you probably aren't going to have a good one. And it's not that easy because you just don't know how much you need to put away. We live 20, 30 years in retirement if we plan our lives out right. That doesn't happen by accident, and it doesn't happen for a lot more people than I'm comfortable saying. Country Financial is dedicated to making sure that you live the proper way today, making sure that you can take care of your family if things go wrong, and that you can take care of yourself if things go right in the future. I recommend you give Mike Daniels and his team a call, and they will ask questions which you just wouldn't ask yourself, and they will help you get to a financial future that you truly do deserve. Country Financial, countryfinancial.com, also at 866-COUNTRY, spelled
COUNTRY.
Thank you, Bonnie. You're listening again to Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie on KOAN, KVNT, 569-1080. Let me put a final thought on the conversation we just had a little while ago. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals put a halt, a stay on our same-sex marriage licenses that were going out. This is a related story in my mind. Houston subpoenas pastors' sermons. That's right, a city and city officials, people with government authority, were subpoenaing what pastors were saying on their pulpit.
Coming to a city near you.
And then backs off amidst outcry.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's what should happen. Whoever even thought that that was okay has to be removed from office. You can't have people with government power that are going to get in your church. You just can't. So that's where the fight is going, by the way, on marriage. As I say, the two hard cases are, should Princess Sally saved Princess Susie from the tower in your kindergarten class? Should they? Well, they will. I'll guarantee it, and I'll guarantee it right now. And 5 years from now, while what I'm saying now sounds really crazy, 5 years from now, I'll be called a bigot for not letting Princess Sally save from the tower. I'll be called a bigot for that.
Well, government's already in churches with the 501c3 and tax exempt status and all that stuff.
There's a lot of pushback,
that's what they're trying to do is say if you talk about these subjects and it's considered hate speech, you're going to lose your tax exempt status.
Well, the only things that they limit are when churches spend an extraordinary amount of their income supporting a candidate or a party. Right now, if you spend more than 10% of your church's income supporting a candidate or a party, you will run awry of the IRS. Most pastors will not touch anything like this unless you're in a black church, where they routinely will have their candidates come up and speak at the pulpit at length. So I think that people are, first of all, I don't think people know what the restrictions on churches are or what they're allowed to do. I don't think pastors know. I don't think people know. But that is a pretty broad area of allowance. You can go and talk about politics. Of course, you can talk about issues. That's what you're supposed to do. You can send items out about those issues. You can send items out about propositions, ballot measures, and things like that. But you can't spend more than 10% of your church's income
Well, all I know is that the pastor at the church we attend on Sunday made just a comment about the election. An important election is coming up in the next few weeks. I'd ask that you get involved and get informed, and there's some pamphlets on the back that you are welcome to look at. They're, from all over and all different kinds of ideas. And you could have cut the tension with a knife. I mean,
But
honestly,
is that
I felt
tension
so
that
bad
he
for
put
him.
in there?
No, I think he really was trying to.
Are you
get it out there.
hypersensitive to that? Because there's nothing offensive in that. The idea that people who go to church should vote is,
I just wish he would have gone on longer, and he didn't. It was very uncomfortable. Everybody was very uncomfortable with it.
Most of the time, Bonnie, the only time people are uncomfortable is when the person speaking is uncomfortable.
Well, that could have been, but I felt bad for him that he was uncomfortable. Maybe
Okay.
he probably was uncomfortable
Well,
saying
that
it.
he
But
needs
it's
to get
wrong to
comfortable.
me that a pastor would feel uncomfortable about telling people to go vote.
All right. We got to get to Facebook. There's a Facebook page out there. Now, what happens when your child on their Facebook page posts something like, this person is a blankety blank?
No, that's why
Right?
my children don't have Facebook.
Okay. Now, who pays for that? Who's responsible for that?
Are you asking, should the parents be responsible?
Should the parents be responsible?
Or should the children? Yeah, I parents, then parents probably want me to.
Parents can be held liable for what their kids post on Facebook. A Georgia appellate court ruled in a decision that lawyers said marked a legal precedent on the issue of parental responsibility over their children's online activity. The Georgia Court of Appeals ruled that the parents of a 7th grade student may be negligent for failing to get their son to delete a fake Facebook profile that allegedly defamed a female classmate.
Ugh. It's such a fine line, because so many locks and all kinds of stuff, and the internet's everywhere. You can get it on your TV. It comes wireless on your TV.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
It's on the Xbox, and so you can get to it on Wii. I mean, it's everywhere, and it's really, really difficult to lock everything up.
But what else can we do?
No internet. And I like your idea of just making it super slow so they're bored with it.
It's totally awesome. That's the best solution ever.
I shared that with my husband, and he said, that's really genius.
Yeah, the slowest, if you want to know here's the best recommendation I'll ever hear for a company, the slowest internet service in Alaska is Clearwire. And that's what we use. It's unlimited, but it's enormously slow. You can't possibly watch a movie unless it's 2 o'clock in the morning, at which point you should have shut off your kid's internet, or 2 o'clock in the afternoon before they come home.
But that's something you as a parent decided to do, and that was responsible.
Yes.
So.
Well, there's no way around this. We knew this was going to happen, and there is no other person responsible for your children other than you. And the fact that you've turned over the responsibility to so many other people and so many other things, your kids' friends, your kids' school, their media, guess what? They're your kids. It can't be anybody else's responsibility what they say. So while it is going to be painful and it probably will shock a lot of people, I'm responsible for my own children, probably cause them not to have kids.
Well, and when your kids do really good things, you brag about it and you take responsibility. So you should take responsibility when there's bad things too.
Oil extends route as economic worries mount. The price of oil has dropped about $30, so it's down about 25%, 26%. Over the last little while. It will devastate our state budgets, and that means we are going to be in a very interesting time in the state of Alaska, and I'm looking forward to it. Smaller governments, better people. 8:14 a.m., KOAN, KVNT, Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie.
the case, then Senator Kathy Giesel has the sort of character that is needed in Juneau. Away from the photo ops or flashy media events, Kathy Giesel hits the books just like she did in nursing school. For the past 4 years, Senator Giesel has worked hard for you, studying the impact of greater access to immunizations for Alaska's kids, crafting legislation that frees up business owners to expand and hire more Alaskans, and working to improve the infrastructure like roads and schools, not just for this generation, but for generations of Alaskans to come. This election is more than just about promises or bullet points. It's about sending the right person to Juneau character to act on behalf of us when we can't watch. We need someone with the character to do the hard work when no one is watching, to make decisions we can trust. We need to re-elect Senator Kathy Giesel.
Paid for by re-elect Senator Kathy Giesel for Senate. 12701 Ridgewood Road, Anchorage, Alaska, 99516.
I'll never forget
that moment.
As long as I live.
As long as I live.
My first call-up ever as a member of the National Guard.
When we got to the armory, they briefed us on the wildfires. They were getting dangerously close to homes.
Helicopters were going out to drop water on the fires. Guys in the unit were preparing for firefighting with local fire crews. At that moment, I got my first taste of just how important the Guard is to my community.
See how the Guard can be an important part of your life at nationalguard.com.
Sponsored by the Alaska National Guard, aired by the Alaska Broadcasters Association and this station.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel on Hot Talk KOAN and online at 1080KOAN.com.
I wish I could play the guitar. I honestly figured for like the first 20 years of my life that they were just faking it, that no one could actually play the guitar, because I couldn't figure out how to play it at all.
We gave you some lessons.
Oh, yeah. Well, I did do, I tried it for months and months, about 6 months, and I know most of the chords now, and I can actually play a little bit, but I haven't bridged the understanding of, getting my brain out of the way so that my hand does the strumming.
You get that Guitar Hero, the video game.
Yeah!
Yeah.
I think you have enough going on, Glenn.
No, I don't. It couldn't be more wrong. I got to learn the guitar. It's been
do that in your free time, right?
Some kind of crazy passion that I have to overcome. Liz Vasquez is going to be with us here in just a moment. Let me tell you about Earhart Roofing. If you're looking for the best in the business, and you'll find out how they do as good of a job as they did. Better Business Bureau Business of the Year. Earhart Roofing, 345-5555. If you go and look at their work site, and I'm not going to give away the secret, but you'll know the secret. If I was in another company and wanted to know how I could have a chance to compete with this amazing group of people, I might actually go look. You will find out if you hire them, though. At least give them a chance at your business. 345-5555. Frank, James, and Becky Earhart, they run Earhart Roofing, and truly the best. And I'm so glad to be able to recommend them to you. All right, Liz, here we are. Happy Thursday.
Good morning.
You've got to be loving the fact that we don't have a whole bunch of snow all over the ground to make you walk through to get from door to door.
Absolutely. Love it. Hope to have this weather continue, especially for Halloween for the kids.
Oh, yeah.
It has been nice the last few years. It seems like there hasn't been as much snow. When I was a kid, we used to go around on snow machine from door to door. So.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There was times. For sure.
Well, if you did that today, you could probably get 4 times as much candy just by riding your snow machine down to the store, getting the candy directly from the store, because gas is so
that was
much more
when you
expensive.
could ride your snow machine on the roads, too. I think it's frowned upon now.
The good old days. Well, Liz, I have been thinking about what's coming up here in this legislative session, and knowing that we're looking at much lower oil prices and that we'll be looking at fairly dramatic deficits. We've gone through the largest 2 deficits in the last 2 years.
Yes.
People expect government to do everything for everyone at all times and never have to decide what priorities we're going to choose.
Well, you have to decide, and you have to have intestinal fortitude to withstand the criticism. And I do have a track record of withstanding criticism. I got elected twice to the board of directors of Chugach Electric, and for those of us that follow Chugach Electric and local issues, we know those races can be quite nasty. That election process can be quite competitive and quite nasty. But not only that, but once you get on the board, bureaucracies do not like change. And when we got on the board, we wanted to make change. We were there not to just sit and be called directors. Yeah. We were there on a mission. And when I became chair, I was on a mission. In fact, to be blunt, I was the reluctant chairperson. I didn't expect
leading
to be
the charge.
Yep. But once I had that obligation and responsibility, we went forward. And not everybody likes change.
Well, I could say universally nobody likes change, but change is a coming.
Yes.
I mean, that's the reality of this situation. When we have to cut $700 million or $1 billion out of real budgets, there's going to be real change, and it's going to take leadership from the top. It's going to take, as you say, fortitude from the legislature.
Well, not only that, but it has to be smart cuts. We can't go in like a bull in a china shop. I don't believe in that personally. I don't believe necessarily across the board cuts.
You can't
initially.
Troopers,
okay.
Right?
No. Public safety to me is number one. I mean, it just absolutely has to be critical. The other thing we need to look at is now with this Ebola outbreak, we're going to have to start having hearing, and we're going to have to figure out how to protect the state, because the federal government is not protecting us. I mean, those flights from West Africa should have been immediately
do you think that they will? I mean, I guess this will continue, and they are worried that by December there will be much larger outbreaks. The lady who had Ebola, I guess, Bonnie, you said she actually asked the CDC if she was okay.
She called the CDC quite a few times, and I have this fever, but because it wasn't 100.5 of a fever, they let her go, and they said, "Oh, you're fine."
Well. They don't evidently know everything about Ebola, and unfortunately the virus is getting stronger. There used to be a 50% fatality rate. There is now a 70% fatality rate. So we can't take this for granted because of the way our modern life is. I mean, we have air flights. People are on planes constantly. I mean, they were saying there were about 4 or 5 flights that airplane took, different areas of the world. I mean, of the United States. It went to Dallas. It went to several states.
You think if the CDC was responsible, they would have said, yes, you were in contact with him. You're under quarantine. I mean, to me, that seems totally reasonable.
Yeah, they would have gone above and beyond. Does this come up at the door? Is this just something that you're thinking that the legislature is going to have to tackle, or
the legislature is going to have to tackle? We're going to have to protect the state. I mean, the feds are not doing it. I mean, that's the thing about leadership. You have the long-term vision. Other people may not see the long-term vision, and they may be upset about it. I mean, when I was on the board of directors, we started a lot of long-range plans. We did a lot of strategic planning that they called us irresponsible. We didn't know what we were doing when we replaced the general manager, and that has turned out okay. Mr. Brad Evans is still there after 5 years, so I guess he can't be doing such a bad job after all.
Well, look, the other side, we know in political matters, they want their folks in, and it turns out, for the most part, we can work with just about anyone, as long as they're trying to do their best.
But you know what? We were running Chugach Electric like a business, and a lot of people didn't like that because they were used to the old way. So going back to what we need to do as a legislature, we've got to look at expenditures. We've got to look at those legislative audit reports. They're issued every year. They audit programs. They provide excellent commentary on what could be improved, what can be cut. We really need to sit down and look at those, and we need to be very savvy, surgeon-like, and do some cutting. I mean, it just has to happen.
This is what I hear. A lot of times you can hear in people's voices that I'm going to say some words here, and they're going to sound okay, but I don't really mean them. And I don't. That's not the case anymore. From legislator to legislator, from the governor, everybody I've talked to, when I talk about sustainable budgets, they know that this is not going to be an easy process. They know that we're headed for change. Are we going to be okay? What do you think Alaska looks like with $1 billion fewer dollars flowing through the state government?
Well, we have to do it. I mean, the handwriting's on the wall, so to speak. I mean, we dipped into savings to the amount of $1.9 billion this year. Last year was $1.6 billion. We're just going to have to, lay out a 2-3 year plan, and hopefully not have to do it drastically.
Are you going to be a leader on that?
Well, of course. I've always been out there.
Yeah, and that's what I've seen too. In your years of public service, you're not one to sit back, let other people do the heavy lifting.
No, in fact, we do the heavy lifting, and we get a lot of criticism, but that goes along with being a very out there leader, I mean, I'm not afraid. First of all, I spent years being a prosecutor. I've been a litigator. You're out there. There's a lot of criticism. Not everybody loves you. So that has prepared me for withstanding criticism. It just, I listen to people, and I listen to what they have to say, but at one point you have to make the best decision on behalf of the people.
Because people disagree.
Absolutely.
One person's concerns or their highest priorities are certainly not another person's highest priorities. So as Anand, who was just in here earlier, also running for office, he said, well, we elect people to go down and make the best decision.
Mm-hmm.
And if they make the wrong decisions, then we get a new representative, and that we really rely on people's judgment to make that call.
Absolutely. I mean, you hopefully will elect the best person that will represent your interests and make wise decisions. That's why putting SB 21 on the ballot is so unfortunate, because it was about the tax policy. It's such a complex issue to have the typical voter decide on. And so I think
any voter. Frankly, they worked for hundreds of hours, if not thousands of hours, on this tax bill to try and figure out what the right balance was.
But when I walked door to door, what I found was there was lack of sufficient transparency. In other words, the community, the people were not sufficiently informed of why ACEs needed to be changed, how it was going to be changed, how was it going to benefit the state. I mean, I think transparency is very important. In fact, when I became chair, one of the first things I did on the board of directors, because I invited the media to come in. The previous chair had basically kicked them out of the boardroom. And, I believe in transparency as much as possible. There are things that legislators are going to have to consider because of confidentiality, but other than that, you need to involve. You really do need to inform people. I think there's a lot of confusion out there.
We're going to continue with Liz Vasquez. Love to hear from you. 569-1080, Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie. It's Thursday. It's October 16th, 2014, 8:29 a.m. And I do want to find out your take on the gas line. Is it real this time? Should the state be a 25% owner? Amongst other things, and I'd love to hear from you. Stay tuned.
played a role in the man's disappearance was never about the money. Peggy Lemaitre had sought $5 million. Her husband was last seen about 200 feet below turnaround point. During the 2012 race, his body was never found. He was legally declared dead later that summer. Finally, H&M has announced plans to open a clothing store at the Diamond Center. 31,000 square foot shop will sell clothes for men, women, and children on 2 floors, part of a multi-year expansion at the mall in South Anchorage. That's your Hot Talk News update.
Mostly cloudy skies for today, high 43. Cloudy tonight, low 28. Sunshine and clouds tomorrow, high 43. Friday night, low 28. Saturday, clouds and sunshine, high 42. Sundays and sunshine, high 40. And Monday, high again, 40. Hot Talk, breaking news, and the latest weather, KOAN 95.1 FM and 1080 AM.
Hey folks, this is Chris and Brock from The Beer Show. Make sure to listen to us every Saturday at 5 p.m. on 95.1 and 1080 KOAN.
The Beer Show is brought to you proudly every single week by Humpy's Great Alaska Nail House, Brown Jug Alaska, Great Artisan Beverages, and the Odom Corporation. Always drink responsibly.
A better life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
Every year, nearly 800,000 people die from heart disease. Nearly a quarter of those deaths could probably be prevented. That's 200,000 lives. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN's chief medical on it. Heart disease is the #1 cause of death in America. And according to a new report from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 200,000 of those lives could be saved every year. Now, what's particularly disturbing in the CDC report is the fact that 56% of those preventable deaths occurred among people under the age of 65. African Americans were twice as likely as any other group to die from preventable heart disease. And men were 2 times more likely than women to die from heart disease and stroke. Good news as well is that prevention can be surprisingly simple. Control your ABCs. That's aspirin for some people, blood pressure control, and cholesterol management. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
Did you know up to 1 in 5 Americans will get the flu this year? Because less than half of us get vaccinated? You didn't know? That's okay. We do. Rite Aid has certified immunizing pharmacists at the ready to discuss your risks, answer your questions, and shield you from what you don't know. So get your flu shot, appointment necessary, at Rite Aid today. With us, it's personal. Flu vaccines available while supplies last. Age restrictions apply in some states. See pharmacist for details.
Do you have unfiled tax returns or owe the IRS or state more than $10,000? If you don't take action now, your tax problem is only going to get worse. Seizure of property, bank levies, wage garnishments, and potential criminal prosecution. Call the experts at U.S. Tax Shield for help at 1-800-334-5070. Our tax advisors will review your case for free, inform you of your rights, and give you a guaranteed quote. And we have an A+ rating with the BBB, so get protected. Call U.S. Tax Shield now at 1-800-334-5070.
When I grow up, I want to be a pro basketball player.
An elementary school teacher.
No matter what dream you choose or where you are in life, Country Financial helps you and your family grow your own way.
Or maybe a veterinarian.
A mom, a doctor, and president of the United States. Maybe an astronaut or, an Olympic gymnast.
You can grow your own way. We know some dreams take a little longer to achieve, which is why your local Country Financial representative offers helpful advice on everything. From auto and home insurance to financial planning, education to retirement, and business insurance too, so that you can continue to grow and dream.
Or maybe an accountant, like my dad.
For more information, visit countryfinancial.com or call 1-866-COUNTRY. Country Financial. Grow your own way.
Glen Biegel, you have beautiful teeth.
Why, thank you, Dan Fagan. That's because my family and I have gone to Dr. Dan Kiley for years.
I get scared at the dentist.
Dr. Kiley knows people like you are afraid, so he creates a relaxed atmosphere at his office. People actually like going to the dentist for Dr. Kiley.
I know it's important to have good dental health.
And you look better with good teeth. And Dr. Kiley offers cosmetic dentistry along with general care.
Visit Dr. Dan Kiley at lakeotisdental.com. Call him at 562-9209.
You're on with Fagan and Biegel in the morning. Give him a call, 569-1080. KOAN. You're on with Fagan and Biegel in the morning on the Talk of the Valley, FM, 1020 AM.
Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie returns. It is October 16th, 2014, Thursday, 8:35 a.m. here in Anchorage. I think it's Anchorage Standard Time, but it might be Alaska Daytime. Do we know?
I thought it was Alaska.
Alaska Standard Time. It always says AST.
All right. I got a question for you. We've got Liz Vasquez is in studio with us. She's running for State House, and all these races are tough. Frankly, there's a lot of movement in politics in Alaska. The polls a lot of times are all over the place, and we don't know what's going to happen. Therefore, I want to talk about something completely different. I want to talk about Facebook. So, the Wall Street Journal has come out today, and I guess someplace in Georgia determined that a parent was responsible for what their child did on Facebook. First of all, could it be any other way? Somebody has to be responsible for whatever somebody does to someone else.
Yes.
Right? Yes. And a child I guess you could prosecute a child as a minor for doing something. I mean, maybe in this one case, first of all, without any ties between what the child's done, the child snuck over to a friend's house in the middle of the night without their parents knowing. They started defaming somebody on Facebook. Parents liable in that case or no? In your view? I'm just asking you as a lawyer, sort of, because guide us through this, because I know that there are legal principles.
Yeah, I mean, technically, as a legal matter, yes, the parent is normally liable. Yes.
They would be liable for any monetary damages.
Yes, or damages.
So you would sue, okay.
As a legal matter.
As a legal matter.
Yeah.
I think that this probably will open a lot of parents' eyes that need to be more involved in their kids' lives.
And monitor what's going on. And by the way, when I get elected to the legislature, one of my pet projects, I mean, there's a lot of serious issues,
yes.
Budget and what we're going to cut or not cut, and revenues, the gas pipeline and so forth. But one of the things I like to do is reintroduce that bill on cyber bullying. In fact, it was my daughter's idea. I have a teenage daughter at home, and it was her idea last year that, hey, Mom, the bullying doesn't cover bullying. Right now we have a statute on bullying, but it doesn't cover cyber bullying. In other words, bullying that occurs on social media, Facebook, internet, what have
Which
you.
is oftentimes the worst kind.
Absolutely.
Because people do it sort of anonymously, and you think you can get away with anything you want, and it stays there, and it's there kind of
you don't
forever.
have to see the hurt on the person's face right then, and
not only
dangerous.
Well, not only that, but it can reach hundreds, if not thousands of people, which is a lot more damaging than just students, or maybe 5 students. All of a sudden, something gets disseminated to hundreds of people, if not thousands of people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I think that's a great law and a great approach.
Well, and I had said earlier that if a child does something good, the parent wants to, brag and take responsibility for that. So you should take responsibility in the bad things too.
We're in the midst of course, heady political season, and heading into this, you are running on the west side of Anchorage.
Yes.
Sand Lake area.
Sand Lake, Deer Lake, Kincaid, northern Campbell Lake. Which
a lot of times these are toss-up districts.
Could be. Generally speaking, my district tends to lean more conservative, though.
So what is it that they're worried about? What are they talking about? And maybe something that other people might not even realize is on people's minds.
Okay. The economy is a concern. Education is a concern. In my district, there's quite a bit of infrastructure that has broken down. I mean, we have a lot of potholes. We have drainage issues.
Anand said when he was in here that people are not, they don't make distinctions between the state and the local government, and
Precisely.
most of the time we can't figure out which road is owned by who anyway.
Precisely. No, I realize that, and I would explain to people. I mean, the major road has Diamond, Raspberry. Those are state roads.
Anything with 4 lanes.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And so I would explain that to people. That's a state road. However, to the extent that I can help out, roll up my sleeve and help you with this local issue, because remember, the city gets revenue sharing funds, so they're interested in keeping the legislature happy.
Yes.
So to speak. And so to the extent that I can roll up my sleeve and call or go in and see what's going on, it would be a pleasure. I mean, I love helping people.
Well, I like the idea that the people who are talking to you are talking about more common sense issues. Because frankly, potholes are something, we don't own the roads. We are not authorized to go out and fix the roads, even though we probably should be if we wanted to go fix the roads. But and the economy, I mean, those are the real questions.
And Glenn, I have to tell you that roads are a basic function of government. It should not be neglected. It is an absolute essential function. That and public safety, some other essential functions. We have to get back to making sure we do well by the people with regard to essential services.
Up until 10 years ago, you worked with the prosecutor's office and you prosecuted largely welfare fraud.
Yes.
This is something that, I know a lot of people are worried that our government is providing benefits to people who shouldn't get them, and they're really not trying to dot all their I's, cross all their T's. I mean, I've seen the advertisements for people get on XYZ program. I mean, they actually are going out and mining to try and get more people. Almost as a status symbol. The more people you have in welfare, the better off these folks are. Tell me about the difficulty and where we are as a state. What are we facing? And particularly, is it jobs that we need so that we don't have to have as much welfare? Because we won't be able to have as much. Let people know that. We will not have as much welfare 3 years from now as we have today. That is a fact. It is absolute, guaranteed, rock-solid fact. And if we don't do anything between now and 3 years from now, frankly, we're going to have a lot of people either going to have to leave the state or they're going to have to get jobs, is my view.
Well, there are jobs out there. I mean, if you go to Office Max, Office Depot, Costco, Sam's, local shops, I mean, there are hiring signs, but a lot of these positions are part-time. Now, what I see is a big gap between job skills and what's available. I mean, there are jobs begging to be filled, but there are not enough people that are competent to do those jobs.
Is it education or training? Or both?
Both. And
what brings up education, the excellence of education? I mean, we've spent as much money. We spend more money than any other state. Is it money still? Is it infrastructure?
And by the way, when I walk door to door, people are quite surprised at the amount of money we spend. We spend over $17,000 per child per year. The other fact that most people do not know, especially teachers, I've been very surprised, is that the school budget for this community has doubled during the last 10 years, while school enrollment has declined by about 2,000. But even if you say that the enrollment has not declined, the school budget has actually doubled. Plus, we have a indebtedness of close to $1 billion. I mean,
so it doesn't sound like it's money.
No, it's not about money. It's about results in my mind.
We've got to have other approaches here. Liz Vasquez in studio with us. You stay with us one more segment?
Yes, of course.
All right. We will continue. 569-1080, Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie, and I will come up with a difficult question for Liz when we come back. Stay tuned.
You're on with. Give them a call. 569-1080. KOAN.
It's time to earn your MBA at DeVry University's Keller Graduate School of Management. Keller professors share real-world experience so students graduate ready to advance in their careers. Get started with our merit-based Career Catalyst Scholarship with up to $8,000 for new students who qualify. Classes start October 27th. Full details at keller.edu/scholarships. For students who qualify and start by November 2014, subject to approval and availability of funds. DeVry University is authorized for operation by the THEC, certified to operate by SHED. In New York, DeVry University operates as DeVry College of New York.
Paid for by Pruitt for State House, 2954
Brittany Place, Anchorage.
Lance Pruitt for our future.
He'll fight for you and me, a strong economy.
Lance Pruitt, he will do it.
He's one of us, he has our trust.
Lance Pruitt, he will do it
for our future.
Lance Pruitt, he will do it
for our future.
East Anchorage supports Lance Pruitt.
I've known Lance Pruitt for 30 years, and there's no one better to lead East Anchorage.
Lance Pruitt is a person of the utmost integrity.
He's vital to what we need.
From my perspective as a high school principal, Lance Pruitt is the best choice for East Anchorage.
And he will have my vote.
And I'm voting for Lance because he's someone Alaska can trust.
Lance Pruitt, he will do it
for our future.
Being a business owner isn't easy. There's managing people, customers, income, expenses, unexpected issues, growing your brand, and so much more. Ready to be more efficient in everything you do? Then listen to Getting Down to Business with David Weatherholt. Each week, David gives you the inside scoop on the latest business news and trends, along with tools for keeping your business on track. Getting Down to Business with David Weatherholt. Saturday from 8 to 10 a.m. on Hot Talk, KOAN 95.1 FM and 1080 a.m. Hot Talk, KOAN, man. You're on with Fagan and Biegel.
Or call 248-2250.
Fagan and Biegel. Weekday mornings from 6 to 9 a.m. on the Talk Alley, KVNT.
October 16th, 2014. Still no snow on the ground here in Anchorage, and I don't think there's any out in the valley either. You're listening to KOAN, KVNT, and Fagan's out. He'll be back on Monday, so it's the inmates running the asylum here. All right, so I promised a hard question. The hard question actually has to do with vending machines up in Fairbanks. No, actually, I'm kidding. They started losing because they put all these healthy choice options in their vending machines. They started losing money on them. No, my question is about the National Guard issue because I think that this is going to impact the legislature. First of all, what do you make of it? Has it properly been revealed to us? And you might know a little bit about the legal precedents about what can be released and what can't. If you don't, that's fine. Just tell us that. But so give me your take on it. What's going on with this National Guard situation? What do you know?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of allegations going back and forth and a lot of pointing fingers. I think what the legislature will need to do when we get together starting in January is probably going to have some oversight hearings and carefully review the audit reports in a factual matter. I don't believe in getting emotionally excited about issues. You sit down and you look at the facts and you proceed to make a decision. And I certainly showed that leadership ability when I was chair of Shugatch. We had an issue that came up that showed some problems in the bureaucracy, and I insisted that we have internal audit conducted, and we did. And but it took a while to convince my colleagues on the board that that needed to be done. And so I think we will be having oversight hearings in the legislature, and we need to carefully look at all the facts. I don't know enough to come to a conclusion. I do know that when I walked door to door, there were two individuals that told me that there were problems with the National Guard.
Two people in the National Guard or
retired, yeah. So
who knew about it? And they talked to you this year about it?
Just in the last couple of months, they had mentioned that there were serious issues. So, I mean, I have not read the audit, so I'm not prepared to tell you who knew what when. I just know that once you have an inkling that something is wrong, like there appears to have been wrong, you need to look further. Now, I know the governor has asked for the federal auditors to come in, and that's good. And we'll
he announced a federal audit team to review Alaska National Guard. The story out of Newsminer today.
Well, the feds have excellent audit. I started my career with the federal government. Very few people know that, with the Department of Treasury and the Control of the Currency and Office of Management and Budget. And historically, they have excellent audit teams that come in. In fact, they have the Office of the Inspector General. Each department has an office of the Inspector General, and then there's the big office, OIG, Office of the Inspector General, and they conduct audits too. And everyone in the federal service is very aware that at any point somebody can come in flashing a badge, an OIG badge, and simply
get full cooperation.
Yes, and start an audit. So I congratulate the governor for doing that, and I look forward to seeing the findings of those audit reports. But I'm not going to reach any conclusions until I see the audit reports.
Well, unfortunately for the governor, I think people are kind of forced into the situation here where we don't have enough information.
Precisely.
Because he will not release some of the information about it, and maybe he's doing that for a very legitimate reason. I think certainly he needs to hold some of it back. But he's got to make his case, and that case is not being made to the satisfaction of a lot. I saw the story out of Alaska Dispatch. Miscommunication causes a long delay on Glen Highway. I don't know if you've read about this, but basically they mistakenly closed, they closed it on purpose, and then they left it closed for like an extra 3 hours during rush hour. Now, here's what we should be doing is taking a survey for the Knickarn Bridge for everybody who's waiting in line.
That's right. I think you get really good public during that time.
We need to have like spot tweet, because I bet you could do that technologically. Is you just set up a tweet station like right next to all the people and ask the question, do you support the Knickarn Bridge?
Right now at this moment.
Tweet yes to pound 84563.
How much would you pay to get into Anchorage at this moment?
You know, the Department of Transportation needs to do a better job of alerting drivers of exactly what's going on. I have encountered that situations many times. I'm driving and all of a sudden a road is closed and you don't have any signs giving you, some type of warning that that's going to happen, and we just need better communication.
Well,
I have noticed that over the years.
Yeah, technology has far surpassed. I mean, the ability for your average teeny tiny little, backwater small business is so far in advance of what our government, which is a huge multi-billion-dollar organization, is able to do.
Mm-hmm.
So modernization's got to be top things we got to look at to save money.
Absolutely, no question about that.
Yeah, they actually closed my access road to McDonald's the other day, which was a real problem.
How dare them?
Yeah, both directions.
It
was.
I'll bet McDonald's was loving that.
But okay, last night, perfect example. I'm driving on Tudor. I was going to turn on the road by just before the intersection of Tudor and Lake Otis, and there's a road totally closed. Totally closed. They needed to tell me.
That's the one. Yeah, they're actually building a building right next to McDonald's. That's the one that they closed. I totally agree with you. That is unacceptable. You have to. But see, here's my thought
there's
is
no notice.
That is a private closure. I think they asked for a permit from the city to close that road for a temporary while they're building because they keep dumping. But yeah, you and I are on the same page. We probably had a McDonald's at the same time.
But there was no notice.
Yeah, there's no notice.
I'm driving, and you have to drive at a certain speed on Tudor. You're not driving at 25 miles per hour. You're driving at 40, 45 miles per hour.
You got to make decisions fast.
Exactly. So give me notice. 500 feet away, 1,000 feet. Keep telling me. Put 2 or 3 signs that say road is closed.
Right.
And I know what. Yeah. I mean, I think it's absolutely dangerous and inconvenient.
Liz, where are we headed on this gas line? Is this real? And I mean, are you going to push? This is the break that I think that's happening, in, at least in some ways, with Parnell. 47% of people voted against Senate Bill 21. I think most of them now realize, oh, gee, it actually was a good bill, protected Alaska. But at the time, they're really upset. I think they're still upset about it.
Yeah.
And here's what I worry about. And we're talking with Liz Vasquez. She's a candidate for House on the west side of Anchorage. You're listening to Fagan, Biegel, and Bonnie. Here's what I worry about. If this gas line does not materialize, however it happens, the oil companies say no, I think that the damage to the relationship between the oil companies and Alaska is going to be so deep, and it's going to be such an open wound that people who love the industry and want them to be happy and prosperous, and I think that they help Alaska, that relationship won't survive that. And I don't know that the oil companies know that, and I know that we're going to have low taxes in order to incentivize this project, but I don't think Alaska knows that. So where do you stand on that? I mean, tell me, what is it that you as a legislator will do to help make sure Alaska cannot depend on this to replace the pipeline, but that the oil companies really do have to do this line? It's not a yes.
So
or do you see it that way?
So the question is?
The question is, as a legislator, you've sort of got to walk this line where you're going to have to explain to the public, we're not going to make $3 or $4 billion off this line. That's just not going to happen.
No, it will not totally replace the oil revenues we have coming in from the oil companies.
But what about to the other side, the 47% that sort of thought they were voting against the oil industry or perks or whatever, that the oil industry's got to know that the temperature of Alaska is pretty negative towards the oil industry, and we might not survive if we don't build this gas line.
Well, I think we need to have more transparency and inform the public more. I think a lot of people don't even realize that 90% of our revenues come from oil taxes. I mean, frankly, a lot of people do not know that fact.
They just think the oil companies are getting away with murder and
precisely. And the other thing they don't understand is we compete for projects with other jurisdictions. We have a harsh climate. We have very little infrastructure. Doing business in Alaska is a lot more difficult than doing business in other jurisdictions up there. Legislature, not only do you do business in Juneau, I think your job is to bring in the community, to bring more transparency to government, to explain to the people what's going on.
You're going to have a lot of explanations that are going to have to be required because we've separated. There's a fairly big separation in Alaska.
I know.
So we had a question from Tom Anderson, who's at KVNT out in the Valley. He wanted if Bob Bell has endorsed you.
I haven't asked for his endorsement.
Oh, something you can do.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, Bob Bell, of course, he was on the Assembly for a long period of time. Well-known engineer. His firm is involved in lots of projects. Great guy. He actually explained to me that he incentivized reductions in expenditures for his employees in their health care plan. They reduced the cost of their health because he said, look, I can't afford it anymore, so we need to work on this together. Yeah. They all came together, and it was quite a story. I'll have to tell you about it sometime. Liz Vasquez, running for a House seat on the West Side. Thanks so much for being on.
Thank you.
All right. Fagan and Bonnie. Fagan's out until Monday. God bless, folks. Have a great Thursday.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in to Fagan and Biegel in the Morning. Be sure to catch them every weekday morning from 6 to 9 a.m.